The Life of Roronoa Zoro, One Piece. Roronoa Zoro, also known as Pirate Hunter Zoro, is the combatant of the Straw Hat Pirates and one of their two swordsmen. Formerly a bounty hunter, he's the second member of the crew and the first to join, doing so in the Romance Dawn arc. As a master of Santoryu, a swordsmanship style which he created during his childhood training in Shimotsuki Village, Zoro is among the four most powerful combatants of the Straw Hats alongside Luffy, Sanji, and Jinbe. His dream is to become the greatest swordsman in the world in order to honor a promise he made to his deceased childhood friend Kuina. In addition to his infamy as one of the Straw Hats and as a former bounty hunter, Zoro is also regarded as one of 12 pirates who are referred to as the worst generation. Welcome to the Amagi. In today's video, we're going over the life of Roronoa Zoro. Before we begin, we publish a new video every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Also, the Amagi's reach stretches beyond this channel, so if you're a fan of us, please consider subscribing to our other channels, such as the Amagi 2, and following us on all of our social media accounts. Help us reach our goal of passing 100,000 followers on all of our accounts by the end of the year. And with that out of the way, let's get into the video. Zoro and Kuina. As a child, Zoro trained at a dojo in Shimotsuki Village. Zoro stated in the Baratie that once he decided that he would become an invincible swordsman, he left his life behind. Even as a child, Zoro was strong enough to defeat most adults, but he couldn't defeat Kuina, the daughter of the dojo's master, Koshiro. After their 2000th fight and Kuina's 2000th victory, Zoro challenged her in private for one more match, with real swords. Although he had improved tremendously since their first match, he still lost and cried with frustration, telling Kuina about his dream of becoming the world's greatest swordsman. Hearing this, Kuina confided in Zoro, telling him that she shared the same dream, but knew she could never attain it. Her father told her that girls could never be true swordmasters, and that her fighting potential would decrease as her body matured. Zoro, annoyed by her defeatist attitude in spite of repeatedly winning against him, told her that one day he would beat her because he was more skilled, not because she was a girl. The two made a promise that either of them had to become the world's best swordsman. The next day, Kuina suffered a fatal fall down the stairs of her dojo, much to Zoro's anger and disappointment. Realizing that she would never have a chance to fulfill her dream, Zoro took it upon himself, asking Koshiro for her sword, Wado Ichimonji, and began working to develop his signature Santoryu, holding his own two swords in each hand and Kuina's clenched between his teeth. Search for the world's best. Eventually, Zoro learned of Dracul Hawkeye Mihawk, who currently holds the title of the greatest swordsman in the world. He set off to sea, searching for him in order to challenge him to a duel. However, he lost his way and couldn't find his way back home. In order to survive on his own, he took on bounties to pay for living expenses. He quickly built a famous reputation for himself as a pirate hunter in the East Blue, and even in the Grand Line as Baroque works had heard about him. He was even considered the greatest swordsman of East Blue. During that time, he met two bounty hunters, Johnny and Yosaku. Because of his reputation as a bounty hunter, Zoro was offered a position as a numbered agent within Baroque Works. He replied that he would accept only if he became the leader of the organization, which they refused. He then killed Mr. Seven, the agent who offered him the position, in self-defense. East Blue Saga Romance Dawn Arc. During his journey, Zoro arrived in Shellstown, where Helmeppo, the spoiled son of the corrupted marine captain Axe-Hand Morgan, released his pet wolf in town. It attempted to attack a girl named Rika, but Zoro saved her by killing it. Based on Rika's story, it's presumed that Helmeppo told Zoro to agree to be tied to a pole for a month to gain amnesty, which would preserve his reputation in the Marine's eyes. On the 9th day of Zoro's restraint, Koby and Monkey D. Luffy arrived in town with the intentions of Koby joining the Marines and Luffy inviting Zoro to be his first crew member. They eventually arrived where Zoro was being held in time to witness Rika trying to feed him some rice balls, which Zoro refused, most likely to avoid the girl being caught, as there was a sign forbidding anyone to aid Zoro. The food ended up being stomped badly by Helmeppo because it was sweet, while rice balls are supposed to be salty. After they left, Luffy asked Zoro to join him, but he flatly refused to become a pirate. He then asked Luffy to feed him the dirtiest rice balls, as well as telling Rika that the food was delicious, revealing his kindness. Later in town, Rika explained to Luffy and Koby the reason for Zoro's capture, which only reinforced Luffy's decision to have him as his crewman. When Helmeppo stated that he would execute Zoro in 3 days' time, Luffy angrily punched him for breaking his promise, which sent Helmeppo scurrying to his father, seeking revenge. With the assumption that Zoro would join his crew if he got Zoro his swords back, Luffy went to the Marine base. Luffy caught Morgan's wrath by crushing his newly built statue and forced Helmeppo to show him where Zoro's swords were. Meanwhile, Koby explains the situation to Zoro while trying to untie him. Luffy came back just in time to save them from a firing squad. Refusing to die, Zoro accepted Luffy's invitation and revealed his unique fighting style. He also revealed his dream of becoming the best swordsman in the world, which Luffy supported, believing that the Pirate King should have the best in his crew. Luffy then proceeded to fight with Morgan. However, when Helmeppo threatened to kill Koby, Luffy knocked him out while Zoro defeated the captain. The Marines, seeing their tyrant leader finally freed, rejoiced and allowed Luffy and Zoro to go free. However, since they were pirates, the Marines asked them to leave the island but promised not to report them to headquarters. As they were leaving, Officer Ripper asked about Koby's past. To help Koby hide it, Luffy provoked him into starting a brief fight between them. Zoro stopped the fight before it could get too serious, but it was enough for Koby to muster up the courage to ask Ripper if he could join the Marines, for which Ripper granted permission. Upon leaving, Luffy and Zoro were saluted by Koby and the Marines for their efforts. Luffy and Zoro then sailed onto their next destination. East Blue Saga, Orangetown Arc. After leaving the Marine base, Zoro and Luffy realized that they had no knowledge on navigation and began searching for a navigator. Luffy then managed to get his head stuck in a beak of a giant bird, leaving Zoro to paddle after him. Zoro came across 3 pirates adrift at sea and told them to get on quickly because he wasn't stopping. The 3 were revealed to be pirates working for Buggy the Clown and planned to rob or kill Zoro. Once they discovered Zoro's identity, they began rowing for him, though the commotion caused Zoro to lose track of Luffy's location. In Orangetown, Luffy managed to get tricked by Nami, tied up, and put into a cage with a cannon aimed at him. Zoro showed up just in time to save Luffy and Nami from Buggy's crew. Zoro appeared to slice Buggy into several pieces, however Buggy is revealed to be immune to blades due to his devil fruit powers. Buggy then stabbed Zoro from behind, heavily injuring him. Despite this, Zoro managed to flip the cannon aimed at Luffy to point it at Buggy and his crew instead. Once the cannon was fired at them, Zoro picked up the iron cage Luffy was stuck in and dragged him for a few blocks. After being taken in by Boodle, the mayor of the town, Zoro was taken care of and slept at his house. However, the house was soon demolished by Buggy and the Buggy Balls that were unleashed upon the town. Zoro rose from the debris with no injuries. The crew soon decided to make a stand against Buggy. Zoro was pitted against Kabaji, Buggy's second mate. Zoro fought Kabaji, who fought dirty by striking Zoro's wounds whenever he had the chance. He also created flames through his breath and breathed it directly into Zoro's face. However, once Kabaji was knocked off his unicycle, he became angered and attacked with a slew of spinning tops and more deadly acrobatic maneuvers. Buggy tried to help him by sending his arm to help hold Zoro in place for Kabaji's strike, but Luffy didn't allow Buggy to interfere in Zoro's duel. Zoro then took his own sword and slit his own side to ensure that he could battle Kabaji evenly when he was greatly injured. Kabaji recognized Zoro's honor and thought of this as the perfect opportunity to take him down. Zoro declared that if he could not topple all men who called themselves swordsmen, such as Kabaji, then he should give up his own dream to become the greatest swordsman. Kabaji was then defeated by Zoro's Onigiri, which cut open his chest. After Kabaji fell to the ground, Zoro also collapsed, claiming that he needed a rest after the grueling struggle. As he fell to the ground, Kabaji was stunned that he, along with Buggy's deadly crew, were all defeated by common thieves. Zoro responded by saying they were not common thieves, and they were pirates. Zoro fell back asleep while Luffy battled against Buggy. As the trio started to relax, the townspeople came back into the town, and seeing their mayor knocked out, demanded answers. Luffy replied that the 3 were pirates, and the townspeople chased them out of town, though the 3 managed to lose them thanks to Shushu's intervention. Nami agreed to temporarily team up with Zoro and Luffy, and the 3 sailed off in the 2 small boats they obtained. East Blue Saga, Syrup Village Arc. The crew later arrived at Gecko Island. Upon landing, they met Usopp, the local troublemaker of Syrup Village and leader of the Usopp Pirates. After some misunderstanding about coming to the island, they discovered that Usopp's wealthy friend Kaya was bedridden, but was well provided by her 2 butlers, Mary and Klahadore. Luffy believed Kaya would be able to give them a boat, so they moved forward to visit her. The group was sent flying into the backyard by Luffy, only to intrude on an argument between Usopp and Klahadore, who insulted Usopp's father and forced the group away from the house. While Usopp and Luffy bonded, Nami, Zoro, and the Usopp pirates came across the backwards walking hypnotist, Django. After Usopp ran past them hysterically screaming that Klahadore was a pirate, they went in search for Luffy. Luffy confirmed that Klahadore was actually Captain Kuro, who planned on killing Kaya and getting all her money. Usopp returned but told the boys that it was just a lie, making them disappointed at Usopp for lying to hurt people and not to entertain. The Straw Hats gained a great deal of respect towards Usopp for tricking the boys to protect their well-being and planning to take on an entire pirate crew, thus he agreed to help him. Usopp planned to have an oil slip to stop the pirates, to which he could snipe them with ease. However, the four were shown to be on the wrong side of the island. Nami fell into the oil slick, but managed to switch spots with Zoro and ran off to fight. Luffy became lost on his dash, causing Usopp and Nami to initially fight the pirates alone. Just before the two could be killed, Zoro and Luffy arrived to fight the Black Cat pirates. Django hypnotized the crew to increase their strength but accidentally hypnotized Luffy, and Django was forced to hypnotize Luffy to sleep again, but accidentally caused the crew to be knocked out by the ship's stem post, which Luffy was holding onto when he fell asleep. Meanwhile, Django summoned the Nyaban brothers, Buchi and Cham, who started a fight against Zoro. Disarmed of all but one sword, Zoro must fight an uphill battle against the teamwork of Buchi and Cham. Zoro exclaimed it was difficult to defeat them without all three of his swords. Zoro prevented Usopp from helping him by taking a hit from his lead star to keep him from getting dragged into the fight. Kuro then appeared, disgusted by how the Black Hat pirates were getting beaten by children, and gave the Nyaban brothers 5 minutes before he kills everyone. Zoro was helped by Nami, who was able to recover Zoro's swords and kick them back up to him, allowing Zoro to fight the Nyaban brothers, but Buchi got back up and was in turn hypnotized by Django, who injured Zoro faster. Nami then ran to wake Luffy up, and Django tried to stop her with his chakram. But at the last second, Nami stepped on Luffy's face. Luffy got up in time to stop the chakram with his rubbery body. Usopp ordered his crew to take Kaya and flee. The three then took Kaya into the forest while Kuro sent Django after them. Zoro finished off Buchi. He then headed out with Usopp as his guide on his back to rescue Kaya and the boys, since Usopp couldn't move due to his injuries and Zoro needed him to navigate through the forest. Eventually, Django caught up with his target and easily overpowered the boys. Kaya then threatened to kill herself with Django's chakram to stop Django from hurting Usopp's crew. Django promised to leave the boys unharmed in exchange for her to sign the will that would allow Kuro to legally acquire her wealth. Zoro and Usopp caught up, and Usopp aided Zoro in defeating Django and rescuing Kaya and the boys with his sniper skills. Usopp decided during the aftermath that news of a real pirate attack might be too upsetting for the villagers and would affect their peace of mind, since pirates don't normally come to an out-of-the-way village. Therefore, he ordered everyone to keep it a secret, which Kaya and his crew agreed with. Kaya was grateful to the Straw Pirates and gave them her ship, the Going Merry. Usopp was grateful to them as well, and now had the confidence to disband his pirate crew and strike out on his own to be a real pirate. Usopp bid the Straw Hat crew farewell, who became confused and told him to stop and get on their boat with them instead, as he became a part of their crew. East Blue Saga, Baratie Arc. The crew met Johnny and Yosaku. Luffy began his job as a waiter to pay for the damage he did to the Baratie for Zeph, and tried to convince Sanji to join his crew. Gin returned to the Baratie with his also starving captain, Don Krieg, to whom Sanji once more gave food. But Don Krieg betrayed the cook once he regained energy and attacked the Baratie, despite the cook's best efforts to stop him. It was then revealed that the head chef, Zeph, was a great pirate known as Red Leg Zeph, who traveled the Grand Line for a whole year before heading back into the East Blue. Gin explained the catastrophe Krieg's fleet met in the Grand Line when they encountered Dracula Mihawk, and Don Krieg attempted to take control of the Baratie. Mihawk had returned to finish the job with Don Krieg's pirate armada, but Zoro challenged him to a duel in order to achieve his dream. Mihawk easily fended off all three of Zoro's swords with the tiny cross dagger he kept around his neck. Zoro, wanting to finish the fight, unleashed his onigiri, but Mihawk easily stopped it as well, stabbing directly towards his heart. Zoro, not wanting to back down because of his pride, piqued Mihawk's curiosity. Mihawk stated that he would remember his name, and as a testament to Zoro's willpower, Mihawk unsheathed his black sword. Zoro unleashed a secret technique, 3,000 worlds, against Mihawk, but Zoro was utterly defeated, and both his unnamed swords were destroyed in the process. Sheathing Wado Ichimonji and turning to face Mihawk, Zoro claimed that a scar on the back of a swordsman is shameful. With that, Mihawk grinned and slashed Zoro down, causing a large scar going from his left shoulder all the way down to his right hip, ending the duel. Mihawk left after defeating Zoro as Don Krieg continued his invasion on the Baratie. Johnny and Yosaku left with Usopp and the wounded Zoro to go after Nami, who had stolen their ship and left. East Blue Saga, Arlong Park Arc. Sometime after Yosaku left to inform Luffy of Nami's destination, Usopp, Zoro, and Johnny arrived at the island. As they approached the island, they tied up Zoro to keep him from harming himself by foolishly attacking fishmen who were fabled to be 10 times stronger than humans. However, they spotted 3 fishmen as they pulled close to shore. Usopp and Johnny quickly abandoned the ship, leaving Zoro defenseless. Zoro was then brought to Arlong Park, where he found out Nami's allegiance to Arlong. After some banter, Arlong proudly stated that Nami was the type of person who would betray even her own family for the sake of riches, which visibly disturbed her. To test Arlong's statement, Zoro threw himself into the water. Nami saved Zoro, but beat him to reassure that she was still part of Arlong's crew. While Arlong was away at Nami's village, Zoro broke free from the dungeon he was being held at, with some help from Nami, who cut his ropes, and struck down the fishman stationed at the park to kill some time. He then met the octopus fishman, Hachi, who was outside the park fishing, clearly oblivious of what had just went down on the other side of the wall. Thinking Zoro was a guest, Hachan towed him to the Kokoyashi village. When he arrived, however, he discovered that Arlong had already returned to Arlong Park. Luffy, Yosaku, and the newly recruited Sanji were hurled towards the island by their temporary chariot led by Momu. They fell from the sky only to meet up with Zoro. Johnny found them as well and told them that he saw Nami stabbing Usopp. Not long after, they came upon a defiant Nami who tried to convince the Straw Hats that she was only in it for the treasure. She then told them to take their ship back and get off the island. Luffy refused, causing Nami to angrily walk away. Johnny and Yosaku also split off, not wanting to be killed by the fishmen. Zoro said that he never expected Nami to murder someone and that she was only a small-time criminal. Sanji became enraged at the comment and the two started to fight, only to have Usopp's face taking the impact of both. Usopp woke up and told them of what really happened. Nami's adoptive sister, Nojiko, found them and agreed to tell them the reason behind Nami's motives. Luffy then left to take a walk and Zoro fell asleep, while Sanji and Usopp, as well as an eavesdropping Johnny and Yosaku, listened to the story of how Arlong took over the island and killed Nami and Nojiko's adoptive mother, Belle-Mère, and how Nami was working for Arlong as a cartographer and stealing from other pirates to buy back their village. Once Nami broke down after Arlong had his accomplice, the corrupted marine captain Nezumi, take all the money she had been saving for her village, she tearfully asked Luffy for help. Zoro, Sanji, and Usopp joined him on the march to Arlong Park, where Johnny and Yosaku were stopping Kokoyashi's villagers from entering as they waited for the Straw Hats. After entering, the Straw Hats managed to beat almost all the fishmen with the exception of the generals. Luffy stuck his feet into the ground to beat the Arlong sea cow Momu and was later thrown into the water by Arlong. Zoro warned Sanji that they could not immediately jump in to save Luffy. He reminded them that the fishmen would be faster and more powerful underwater, so they must move to defeat them on land quickly. Zoro squared off against Hachan and found it to be challenging due to his previous injuries against Mihawk. When Sanji attempted to defend Zoro, Sanji was knocked away by Kurohobi and was too distracted with his battle to help Zoro. Despite his wound and fever, Zoro borrowed Johnny and Yosaku's swords and managed to win against Hachan's sick sword style, breaking his swords and defeating him. Sanji defeated Kurohobi, and Usopp defeated Chu outside of Arlong Park. After Sanji assured Zoro that Luffy was alive, he and Sanji then fought against Arlong, but were both defeated and agreed that only Luffy could win. While Zoro kept Arlong distracted and with minor interference from Hachan, Sanji drove back into the water and freed Luffy's body. On land, Arlong ripped the bandages off of Zoro's chest, injuring him even more and shocking everybody. Luffy then rose from the water with help from Genzo, Nojiko, and Sanji, and traded places with Zoro by tossing him high into the air. He fell into the sea and fell asleep after pulling himself out of it. When Luffy destroyed Arlong Park and defeated Arlong, Zoro woke up just in time to beat Nezumi, who came to take the credit for defeating Arlong. Nami made Nezumi return all the money and help fix up the island. Humiliated, Nezumi left and reported the incident to the Marines' main base, ensuring that Luffy would receive a high bounty. Back in Kokoyashi Village, Dr. Nako tended to the wounds of Zoro, Luffy, Yosaku, and Johnny. To celebrate their freedom, the entire island threw a big party. When the party was finally over, Nami rejoined the crew and the Straw Hats sailed towards their next adventure. East Blue Saga, Loguetown Arc. Having defeated Buggy, Krieg, and Arlong, the Marines issued Luffy his first bounty. Luffy, Usopp, and Sanji started to discuss Luffy's wanted poster. Meanwhile, Zoro pointed out an island he had spotted. Nami explained about the island's major city, Loguetown, the city of the beginning and the end, where the Pirate King Gold Roger was born and executed. Arriving at Loguetown, Zoro stated that he wanted to buy something, so he asked Nami for some money. While walking down the street, Zoro witnessed Tashigi, a marine swordswoman who looked exactly like Kuina, beating some pirates. Upon entering the weapon shop, Zoro looked for two swords. The owner of the shop, Ippon Matsu, tried to trick Zoro into selling his beloved sword for far less than its value, but Tashigi rushed into the shop and accidentally ruined the owner's ploy. Tashigi pointed out a cursed sword named Sandai Kitetsu to Zoro. Ippon Matsu told them about Kitetsu's curse line, which interested Zoro, who then decided to buy the sword and test his luck against the sword's curse. He threw the sword up and held out his arm, but the sword encircled around Zoro's arm and left him uncut. After witnessing Zoro's caliber, the owner gave Yubashiri to Zoro Zoro for free, saying that he passed his dream to him. After leaving the shop, Zoro reunited with the crew except Luffy, who was in trouble. Zoro and Sanji rushed to the execution place and started to fight off Buggy's crew, hoping to save Luffy, but the latter was saved by lightning that struck the platform. Zoro, Luffy, and Sanji fled from the execution site to reach the Going Merry, but Tashigi and Smoker intercepted them. Tashigi engaged Zoro in battle, and Smoker battled Luffy and Sanji. Zoro defeated Tashigi and Dragon saved Luffy from Smoker. Finally, the Straw Hats reached their ship and left Loguetown. Following this, the Straw Hats made promises about their dreams and set sail to the Grand Line. Arabasta Saga, Reverse Mountain Arc. Heading to the Grand Line, Nami had to search for more information about it. The Straw Hats then gathered and Nami explained about the only way to reach Grand Line, which is the Reverse Mountain. The Straw Hats arrived at Reverse Mountain through the storm, though they were nearly blown off course and into the calm belt. But they eventually reached the entrance of Reverse Mountain and managed to climb its uphill rapids despite some tricky close calls. As they came down, they heard a noise and noticed something was blocking their path. They identified the obstacle as a huge whale, which was threatening to crush the Going Merry. Luffy managed to keep the ship from crashing into it, but seeing the bow broken off enraged Luffy and he attacked the whale. The whale swallowed the Going Merry and the crew, except for Luffy, who managed to escape onto the whale's back. Inside, the Straw Hats suddenly found themselves in what looked like an outside setting with a house in the middle of the water where they met an old man named Crocus. Sanji tried to get information from Crocus, who took long periods of time to reply, causing Sanji and Zoro great comical frustration. Eventually, Luffy reunited with the Straw Hats and it was revealed that the strange setting is in fact the whale's stomach. Crocus revealed that the whale's name is Laboon and that he often cried trying to run into the mountain in order to break it because of a promise made 50 years ago, and that two mysterious people named Mr. Nine and Miss Wednesday were there just to kill the whale to feed the people in their town, but they were later knocked out by Luffy. Once they exited Laboon, the Straw Hats threw Mr. Nine and Miss Wednesday off to sea. Luffy made a promise to the whale hoping to solve its past problem. The crew was making the preparation for their journey when Nami realized that the compass does not work there, to which Crocus explained that they needed a log post to travel through the Grand Line, and gave one to them. Also, Mr. Nine and Miss Wednesday asked the Straw Hats to take them to their town. Since everything was ready, they set sail to the first Grand Line island. Arabasta Saga, Whisky Peak Arc. As the group was sailing in the Grand Line, they were forced to deal with rapid weather changes. Usopp attempted to wake Zoro, who was sleeping, but to no avail, and Zoro continued sleeping even as it began to snow on him. Eventually, after the weather calmed down and the rest of the crew was left unable to move from exhaustion, Zoro woke up and, noticing the others lying around the ship, claimed they were being too lazy despite the good weather. Upon noticing Miss Wednesday and Mr. Nine aboard the ship, Zoro confronted them and claimed their names sounded familiar, only to be interrupted when Nami hit him for sleeping while they were hard at work. When the Straw Hats saw Whisky Peak was nearby, Luffy said they should go there even though it might take some time for the log post to record, prompting Zoro to agree with him. Later, Zoro stood by as the crew was greeted by the townspeople. That night, the townspeople threw a party for the Straw Hats, and Zoro managed to outdrink several people before seemingly passing out at the 13th person. However, he later confronted the Baroque Works agents planning to capture the Straw Hats, where he claimed that a true swordsman never lets himself be controlled by alcohol. Zoro noted that Whisky Peak was nothing more than a den of bounty hunters who took advantage of inexperienced pirates entering the Grand Line before addressing the 100 bounty hunters assembled before him as Baroque Works. When a shocked Mr. Nine wondered how he knew the name of their organization, Zoro revealed that a member of Baroque Works once tried to recruit him, though he refused before detailing the secrecy enforced by the members. Deciding that Zoro must be eliminated for knowing this, Mr. 8 ordered the bounty hunters to attack him, but Zoro managed to move into the crowd of bounty hunters before they could notice him. After causing several of the bounty hunters to accidentally shoot each other, Zoro moved to Mr. 8, causing the remaining bounty hunters to focus fire on him. Zoro moved away when Mr. 8 blasted the bounty hunters away with Igarappा and noted he would have to avoid that shotgun attack. Zoro noted it was a good chance to test out his new swords before rolling inside a house to avoid gunfire from a bounty hunter above him. Defending himself from several more bounty hunters with a table, Zoro decided to test out Yubashiri before cutting down the bounty hunters in a single rush. Zoro noted Yubashiri was a very light and fine blade before climbing up a ladder to avoid more bounty hunters, only to be confronted by 4 men on top of the building. After dodging a cannonball, Zoro cut a barrel of alcohol thrown by Miss Monday into forts, which hit the 4 bounty hunters behind him, before noticing another bounty hunter attacking him with a stone axe and countering him with Sandai Kitetsu. Upon noticing that his sword cut through the stone axe, Zoro cut down the bounty hunter while noting that Sendai Kitetsu was going to be a problem child if it was going to cut things he did not wish to cut before nearly attacking a young boy armed with a knife. When a nun attempted to trick and blind him, Zoro knocked her and the boy out with the back of his sword while telling them to try a more gullible man next time. Upon being pursued by more bounty hunters up a ladder, Zoro pushed the ladder off the side of the building before using it as a stepping stone to reach the next building, where he cut down the bounty hunters present with Takanami. Hearing a cry, Zoro cut a circle in the roof he was standing on before walking away as several female bounty hunters pounced on it and fell through the roof. Though he was seemingly caught off guard and defeated by Miss Monday, Zoro managed to knock her out by clutching her head with his hand before asking the remaining Baroque Works agent if they were ready to continue. Zoro rolled backward to avoid Mr. 8's Igarappa, prompting the other agents to begin pursuing him as well. As Zoro expressed confusion at Miss Wednesday and Karu's antics, Mr. 9 began attacking him with his steel bats, but Zoro easily intimidated him by repeatedly jabbing at him with Sandai Kitetsu. After Mr. 9 accidentally fell off the building they were fighting on, Zoro was confronted by Miss Wednesday, who made him dizzy with the Miwaki no Memai dance before attempting to finish him off. However, Karu went the wrong way and fell off the building as well, along with Miss Wednesday, leaving Zoro to state he felt embarrassed fighting these people. When Mr. 8 attacked him once more, Zoro cut a hole in the roof to escape and moved to an alleyway where he wondered how he was going to get past Mr. 8's shotgun. He was interrupted when Mr. 9 reappeared and bound his arm with the iron wire in one of his bats. As Zoro noticed Miss Wednesday had taken a sleeping Luffy hostage as well, Mr. 8 opened fire on him with Igarapapa, prompting Zoro to pull back in order to avoid the bullets before slamming Mr. 9 into a nearby building and then into Miss Wednesday and Karu, who were sent flying away. With his left arm freed, Zoro used Luffy's stomach to propel himself towards Mr. 8 before cutting him down as well, and noting he was finally done. After pushing the unconscious Mr. 8 and Miss Monday off the building, Zoro sat down to drink and noted it was a quiet night once more before hearing something in the distance. When Mr. 5 and Miss Valentine confronted the defeated agents, Zoro noticed Luffy was out in the open and soon dragged him out of the way while telling the agents to continue fighting amongst themselves. Upon witnessing Mr. 5's nose fancy cannon defeating Mr. 5, a shocked Zoro commented on its power before being interrupted by Igaram, who begged him to protect Nefertari Vivi from Mr. 5 and Miss Valentine in his stead. After Nami arrived, she successfully negotiated a contract with Igaram to save Vivi and deliver her to Arabasta in exchange for 1 billion berry. She ordered Zoro to go rescue Vivi, prompting Zoro to express outrage at her trying to use him for her schemes. Zoro and Nami bickered over why Zoro should or should not fight, but eventually Nami used the fact that Zoro still owed her money from when he bought his swords in Loguetown to force Zoro to fight in order to pay off the debt, prompting Zoro to angrily tell her that she would not have a peaceful death as he walked away. Soon after, when Mr. 5 attacks Vivi with Nose Fancy Cannon, Zoro appeared and cut the booger in half before complaining about how he had to do something so ridiculous. When Vivi, believing he was still after her life, attempted to attack her, Zoro grabbed her arm and revealed he had come to save her. As Zoro prepared to fight Mr. 5 and Miss Valentine, he was confronted by Luffy, who proclaimed he could never forgive Zoro for what he had done. When Luffy accused him of having cut up the friendly town people who gave him food to eat, a stunned Zoro acknowledged that he had cut them up before attempting to explain the situation to Luffy, who attacked him before Zoro could finish. After Luffy punched and kicked through several walls, Zoro realized he was serious about killing him and tried to get him to calm down by kicking him, which resulted in Luffy slamming into Mr. 5 and Miss Valentine and crashing into a building. When Miss Valentine began preparing to attack Zoro, Vivi tried to warn him, but Zoro claimed he didn't have time to listen to either of them as Luffy emerged from the building with the defeated Mr. 5. Zoro told Luffy that all the townspeople were actually bounty hunters, and thus their enemies, but Luffy refused to believe him on the grounds that no enemies would feed them. Casually avoiding Miss Valentine's 10,000 kilo press, Zoro realized Luffy wasn't going to listen to him and resolved to fight him to the death. Zoro used Onigiri to match Luffy's Gomu Gomu no Bazooka and stated that this was a good chance to see whose fighting style was stronger. As Zoro and Luffy continued to clash, Mr. 5 and Miss Valentine attempted to attack them, but Zoro and Luffy intimidated them with a simple glare before effortlessly defeating both of them with one attack. After wondering who Mr. 5 and Miss Valentine were, Zoro and Luffy attempted to resume their fight, only to be interrupted by Nami, who beat both of them up while berating them for almost costing her 1 billion berry. Eventually, Zoro explained the situation to Luffy, who admitted that he thought Zoro cut them up because he didn't prepare his favorite food. When Vivi explained the situation in Arabasta and the reason why she infiltrated Baroque Works, Zoro commended her for being so brave, and when she accidentally revealed Mr. Zero's identity, Zoro was the first one to point out that she did this. As Zoro and Luffy Luffy expressed interest in meeting and fighting a warlord of the sea like Crocodile, Igaram arrived and asked Luffy if he had decided whether or not he would take Vivi to Arabasta, which prompted Zoro to explain to Luffy that he wanted them to take her home. After explaining that he would be acting as a decoy so that Zoro and the others could escape, Igaram left Whisky Peak on a ship with 3 dummies, only for his ship to explode in a massive fireball, to the shock of Zoro and the others. After confirming that the log post had finished recording, Zoro told Luffy to wake up Sanji and Usopp and bring them back to the ship. On board the Going Merry, Zoro pulled up the anchor before informing Luffy, who had just arrived with Sanji and Usopp in tow, that they were ready to leave at any moment. After Zoro revealed that Karoo was already on the ship to Nami and Vivi, the Straw Hats set sail, and upon hearing Sanji and Usopp protesting their departure, Zoro asked Nami to explain the situation to them, prompting Nami to shut them up by hitting them. Soon after, Zoro was shocked when Miss All Sunday suddenly appeared on the Going Merry and drew Wado Ichimonji in an attempt to attack her, only to stop upon seeing Usopp and Sanji pointing a slingshot and a pistol, respectively, at her head. When Miss All Sunday threw Usopp and Sanji onto the deck seemingly without touching them, a surprised Zoro wondered if it was a devil fruit. After mocking Vivi and the Straw Hats, Miss All Sunday gave them an eternal pose that would allow them to sail to Nanimonai Island so they could avoid detection by Baroque works, which prompted Zoro to state it was probably a trap. After Luffy destroyed the Eternal Pose and Miss All Sunday departed, Zoro noted that they had someone just as incomprehensible as she was on their crew. Soon after, Zoro was confused when Luffy mentioned it snowing on board the ship in the middle of the ocean. Arabasta Saga, Little Garden Arc. Zoro and crew sat ashore on Little Garden, a prehistoric island inhabited by dinosaurs and giants. Zoro, ordered by Sanji to gather some food, has challenged him to a competition on who would be the one to bring the largest piece of meat. Little do the Straw Hats suspect that officer agents of Baroque Works were on their tail. Having subdued the giants, Baroque Works made their move. Mr. 3 introduced Zoro, Nami, Vivi, and Brogy to the slow torture of becoming living statues of wax. Agreeing with Brogy that the only way to die was to go all out honorably, Zoro attempted to cut his feet off, but Luffy arrived on the scene, so Zoro left the rest to him. Luffy attempted to rescue his friends, but it only accelerated the deadly waxing process, prompting Zoro to strike an honorable pose should he die. To make matters worse, Miss Golden Week interfered and revealed her own terrifying ability. With Karoo's help, Usopp and Luffy rescued Zoro, Vivi, and Nami. The newly liberated crew took on Mr. 5 and Miss Valentine. While Luffy and Karoo pursued Mr. 3 and Miss Golden Week into the forest, Zoro was able to save Usopp from Mr. 5. The crew then left Little Garden while being propelled through the Island Eater, and they then set sail for Arabasta. Arabasta Saga, Drum Island Arc. Nami grew sick while they were out at sea. Zoro took over as a temporary navigator and performed daily training exercises again while looking for a doctor. Nami overexerted herself to help Zoro steer clear of a cyclone, and the crew headed towards a nearby island. The crew soon met the pirate Wapol, who attacked them but only made Luffy send him flying. They arrived at last to an island only to find out that they were not welcome. The Straw Hat crew managed to gain the trust of the people that attacked them and were taken to the village. Zoro and Karoo stayed behind to guard the ship. Zoro decided to train in the icy cold waters since his injuries from Little Garden had healed. A shirtless Zoro was later found buried in snow by Vivi and Usopp after an avalanche. He told them he was training and was unable to escape. They headed back to town together and found they had returned to Bighorn. Zoro helped out the locals by attacking the king's army in order to save Dalton. Zoro obtained one of their warm coats in the process to warm himself back up. The villagers, along with Zoro, Vivi, and Usopp, started their ascent to the castle. They climbed a ropeway and arrived just after Luffy defeated Wapol. After finally being convinced to join the Straw Hat crew, Chopper announced his intentions to Dr. Kureha, who didn't take it too well. After escaping from the castle, she had decided to give the whole Straw Hat crew a farewell gift and use Helilic's dust to create pink cherry blossom like snow. On the way out of the island, the crew discovered Karoo frozen in the water and rescued him. Chopper translated that Karoo jumped in the water to save Zoro when he saw him disappear, causing an angry Nami to hit Zoro on the head because he was at fault for this mishap. Arabasta Saga, Arabasta Arc. The crew was starving for food and was trying to fish. Vivi saw a shocking sight, to which Nami explained it was just steam coming from an underwater volcano. While fishing, they met Mr. 2, Bon Kure, who showed off his devil fruit power. Later, after Mr. 2 left the ship, they saw a sea cat. They tried to capture it, but Vivi stopped them because it was sacred. Upon learning Mr. 2's abilities, they planned to make an X mark on their right arm to know their true identity. When the crew landed in Nanohana, they encountered Smoker and Tashigi. A powerful pirate named Portgas the Ace appeared, and it was revealed to be Luffy's older brother. Ace fought Smoker while the Straw Hats ran for their ship. Luffy reunited with his brother, and together they took down agents of Baroque Works. Ace departed from the crew and left Luffy with a piece of paper. The crew found out that the rebel army had moved out of Yuba and headed to Katoria, and that the rebel leader Koza was determined to attack. The crew traveled to the city of Rain Base to take down Crocodile and Baroque Works, but ran afoul of Smoker and Tashigi. Zoro, Luffy, Nami, Usopp, and Smoker were trapped by Crocodile. Chopper distracted Crocodile while Sanji freed the rest of the crew, but found themselves trapped yet again. After escaping from rain dinners by swimming underwater with Zoro carrying Smoker, Zoro admitted to Smoker that while he did save his life, he only did it because Luffy ordered him to, due to Smoker's inability to swim because of his devil fruit powers. The crew and Vivi then crossed the desert to Alabarna, where the final battle would eventually take place, though Luffy remained behind to fend off Crocodile. The crew, excluding Luffy, proceeded to Alabarna. As they reached the destination, they split up to distract the Baroque Works agents to engage them in separate battles. While Miss Doublefinger's fight with Nami was challenging, Zoro was having an even more difficult time fighting Mr. One, a man who can change his entire body into steel, something that Zoro could not cut. As Zoro neared death, he heard the breath of all things. He then proceeded to defeat Mr. One, finally learning how to cut steel. After their battle, the other Straw Hats hurried to locate the bomb before it went off. Vivi found the bomb and called the Straw Hats together. The bomb was inside of the clock tower, but the Mr. 7 pair of Baroque Works agents were there to protect it. Vivi defeated them, but she realized that the bomb could not be stopped so easily. It had a timer, and right before it blew up, Pell showed up and took it into the atmosphere, where he seemingly sacrificed himself to save Arabasta. When the battle finally had ended, the outcome was tallied. Igaram appeared with proof of Cobra's innocence, and Koza explained everything. When Luffy awakened from his battle with Crocodile, a magnificent banquet was thrown for the pirates, and the Straw Hats were then invited to enjoy the hot spring steam room inside the palace. It was later revealed that Zoro gained a bounty of 60 million berry. The day for Vivi's speech had come, and so had her decision to not continue traveling with the Straw Hats. Meanwhile, Bon Kure and his crew attempted to protect the Straw Hats from Hina. When Vivi arrived at their location to say farewell, the entire Straw Hats showed off their X marks to symbolize their friendship with Vivi. The Marines failed again to catch the Straw Hats. After escaping from the Marines, Nico Robin, or otherwise known as Miss All Sunday, appeared from inside of the Straw Hat ship and managed to persuade the crew to let her join, although Zoro was the only one to remain suspicious of her intentions. Sky Island Saga, Jaya Arc. Nami's log pose began to point to the sky. After that, a 200-year-old galleon fell from the sky, leading the crew to explore it and discover a map of an island named Skypiea. They competed with the monkey-like Masira's salvage crew while they searched for more clues on how to get there. The Straw Hats then decided to go to Jaya Island to look for information on Skypiea. Jaya's main town was full of famous pirates that were constantly brawling with each other. Luffy and Zoro had a run-in with a pirate known as Bellamy the Hyena, who ridiculed their dreams and beat them up. On Luffy's behest, Zoro did not fight back. Luffy, Zoro, and Nami also met the man who was later revealed to be Blackbeard. They left Mocktown and got into a fight with Masira's brother, Shoujo, another salvage monkey. The Straw Hats met up with Mont Blanc Cricket on another part of Jaya. Cricket is a descendant of Mont Blanc Noland, an infamous liar who told of a gold city on Jaya, and Cricket was exiled for looking for artifacts of the gold city. He was actually the only person who knew how to get to Skypiea. Cricket explained how the Straw Hats could ride a dangerous vertical current called the Knock-Up Stream to get to Skypiea. However, they first had to catch a southbird to point them toward the point where the stream would erupt from the ocean. While the Straw Hats were looking for a southbird, Bellamy and his crew attacked Cricket's house and stole the gold artifacts he had collected over the years from his salvage work. When the Straw Hats returned and saw what happened, Luffy decided to take a side trip back to Mocktown to return Cricket's artifacts. Bellamy got his comeuppance in the form of Luffy's fist after speaking badly of Cricket. Upon Luffy's return, the Going Merry had been refitted by Masira and Shoujo to be more flight capable. Before the Straw Hats caught a ride in the Knock-Up Stream towards Skypiea, Blackbeard and his crew arrived, and Zoro learned of his bounty as well as Luffy's new bounty. Zoro was pleased to hear he became a wanted pirate worth a large amount. Blackbeard came to capture them only to miss them before their ascent. The Straw Hats then arrived in an ocean above the clouds. Sky Island Saga, Skypiea Arc. As the Straw Hats admired the beautiful cloud ocean, they sailed on and soon came to a gate. The Watcher at first demanded they pay a fee, and then told them they may go even when Nami apologetically stated they had no money. When the crew arrived on a beach in the clouds, they encountered a Skypiean and her father. The Straw Hats started talking to her, particularly about the versatile Skypiean dials. The Skypiea police, the White Berets, suddenly turned up. They told the Straw Hats that they were illegal trespassers and had to pay 10 times the entrance fee immediately. It turned out to be 70 million berry, far too high to pay. The crew was then sentenced to a form of death penalty. Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji swiftly took out the White Berets. As the crew prepared for their adventure in Skypiea, an enormous shrimp attacked the Going Merry. The Skypiea man explained to Usopp, Sanji, and Luffy that the others on the Going Merry would be taken to the sacrificial altar. The three decided to rescue their friends despite the man warning them about Gold Enel living in a place they were headed. While Luffy, Sanji, and Usopp looked for the others on the Going Merry, Zoro killed a vicious fish shortly before it could take them to the altar. Zoro, Nami, and Robin sat off into the forest. Zoro brushed off Chopper's objections by stating he doesn't even believe in God. After a while, the entire crew was reunited at the Going Merry, and Zoro used his swords to help Sanji prepare food. The next day, the Straw Hats decided to split into two teams. The second team, consisting of Zoro, Chopper, Luffy, and Robin, encountered an enormous snake and were all separated after it attacked. Zoro soon encountered a Shandia warrior named Braham, who attacked them. Braham used powerful dials and pistols to attack. Though Zoro was caught off guard at first, he managed to defeat Braham by using his powerful 36-pound cannon. As Zoro was enjoying his lunch, he winded up being carried away by a south bird. The bird soon dropped Zoro right in the middle of a confrontation between Ohm, the Knight of the Sky, and Wiper. Zoro fought Ohm, who was revealed to be a great swordsman using a blade with a dial placed inside the hilt. The blade's shape changed to block Zoro's attacks and was strong enough to even stop his 36-pound cannon. After a lengthy struggle, Zoro defeated the priest with an incredibly powerful 108-pound cannon. Enel then struck the ground using his lightning and caused Zoro to fall to the ruins where Enel, Wiper, Gonfal, Nami, and Robin were. Upon almost successfully predicting the 5 survivors, including himself, Enel offered Zoro, Robin, Gonfal, and Wiper to join him, provided that Nami was to be eliminated. When all 4 openly refused his invitation by proclaiming that Enel himself would be eliminated, Enel proceeded to knock Gonfal down with his powers. Enel then went on to harm Robin. Zoro furiously attacked him in retaliation, but failed in harming him at all. Enel then injured Zoro, who tried to attack Enel once more. But he was shocked into unconsciousness when Enel struck him with a wolf-like lightning attack. Later, after regaining consciousness, Zoro attempted to cut down the beanstalk near Luffy and Enel upon Nami's request. He managed to cleave some of it apart, but he was then struck into unconsciousness again by Enel. Wiper then finished the job and was able to cut down the beanstalk. After Luffy defeated the tyrannical Enel and finally rang the golden bell, Zoro joined the other Skypieans in drinking and celebrating. Water 7 Saga, Long Ring Long Land Arc. After returning from Skypiea, the Straw Hats came across a mysterious pirate ship with no captain and navigator after they tried to escape from a giant wave. They soon arrived at an island with some strange long animals, the so-called Long Ring Long Land Island. As Luffy, Usopp, and Chopper went on board, Zoro, Sanji, Nami, and Robin were challenged by the Foxy pirates to a davy-back fight. Luffy accepted the challenge with a gunshot. When Foxy decided to take Chopper after the first round, the donut race, Chopper cried and said that he only went out to sea because he was asked to be a member of the Straw Hat Pirates. Zoro lectured Chopper and told him that he had to be a man and that he was responsible for becoming a pirate. In the second game, called the Groggy Ring, he and Sanji were partnered. They were fighting over who should be the ball man until Sanji took the position at Nami's request. The referee told them that weapons were prohibited in the game, so Zoro was forced to use no sword style. They defeated the Groggy monsters and won after a decisive battle and allowed the Straw Hat Pirates to reclaim Chopper. The last game, Combat, was a fight between the two captains. Luffy defeated Foxy and chose to take Foxy's pirate flag rather than taking a crew member. Luffy made them a new flag, which ended up being hideous because of his poor artistic ability. After having returned to Tonjit's hut, the Straw Hats met a Marine Admiral named Aokiji. Aokiji told the crew that he was only there to confirm that Robin was still alive. He then used the Ice Saber and proceeded to slice up Robin, but Zoro stopped him. During the fight, Zoro's right shoulder was frozen by Aokiji. After the crew returned to the Merry, Zoro and Sanji immediately jumped into the ocean when Chopper said it would unfreeze them. After treatment, Zoro thought to himself that Luffy needed to get stronger to fight a stronger enemy. Water 7 Saga, Water 7 Arc. As the Straw Hats continued their journey, they encountered a sea train on their way. They stopped at a train station and asked an old woman named Kokoro where they could repair the ship and recruit a shipwright. Kokoro gave them a picture of a person named Iceberg and told them this was the person for whom they were searching. They set sail and opened the picture only to find it was just a drawing. When they arrived at Water 7, Zoro pulled out the sail and accidentally broke it, not realizing how poor its condition was. Soon, Luffy, Nami, and Usopp disembarked to hire a shipwright. Robin and Chopper then went shopping, following later by Sanji. Zoro remained sleeping and guarded the ship. When he woke up, the ship was surrounded by mysterious strangers called the Frankie family. They attacked but were easily defeated by Zoro. When a man named Kaku, a shipwright from the Galila Company, arrived to check the ship, he mistook him for Usopp due to his long nose. Upon completing the inspection, Kaku stated that the ship could not be repaired anymore, a statement Zoro vehemently disagreed with. The carpenter soon returned to the shipyard. In a monologue, Zoro asked the Going Merry if this would really be its last voyage. Zoro later joined Chopper, Sanji, and Luffy to look for Usopp and their stolen money. They found Usopp unconscious outside of the Frankie house. The four then attacked the Frankie family and destroyed their base, more so for beating up Usopp than for stealing their money. By then, their money had already been taken by Frankie to an unknown location, so they couldn't get it back. While Usopp received medical treatment from Chopper, Luffy decided to get a new ship based on the shipwright's remarks about Mary's fate. When Usopp woke up, Luffy told him this, and Usopp angrily disagreed. They started a quarrel as to whether they would leave the ship or not. A few harsh words were exchanged, and Usopp then went outside saying he quit being a Straw Hat pirate. He then challenged Luffy to a duel, and the winner would claim the ship. Later, Zoro was seen fighting with Sanji over who was responsible for the situation. Robin had disappeared while in the city, and they were also wondering where she had gone. After the duel, the victorious Luffy was still torn up regarding the conflict. Zoro told him that as a captain, he must never hesitate or else the crew could not rely on him. He then stated that they could never come back to the Going Merry again. When the crew later rented a hotel room, he just sat on the rooftop. The Straw Hats then became suspects to the attempted murder of Iceberg after a sudden attempt on his life was made. When Zoro saw Luffy, Chopper, and Nami, they planned to enter the Galila building in order to talk to Iceberg. As Luffy disappeared, they were spotted by the Galila guards and started running. When Zoro became annoyed of the carpenters, he decided to use the back of his swords to defeat them. As they entered the building, they saw Luffy with Polly there and discovered the true identities of Bluno, Khalifa, Kaku, and Lucci as agents of CP9. They saw Robin with them too. Zoro attacked Kaku saying that he was not a true shipwright, but Kaku replied that he did his job correctly when examining the Going Merry. Afterwards, Zoro was quickly sent flying by Lucci in leopard form and ended up landing into a chimney of another building. Zoro remained stuck there for a while, neither able to move nor reach his swords. He was later helped by Chopper, who had been looking frantically for him and Luffy due to the Aqua Laguna about to strike. Chopper gave Zoro Kitetsu and he destroyed the chimney. When he was finally freed, the two ran as quickly as possible to get away from the tidal wave. Zoro and Chopper, along with Nami and Luffy, were helped by Polly and narrowly escaped drowning. Having heard the truth behind Robin's strange behavior, they planned to sail into the storm to pursue the sea train and save her. Polly disagreed with their plan and was willing to fight them and stop them. Kokoro then informed them that she'd show them another sea train and introduce the Rocket Man. Seeing how determined Luffy was to save Robin, Kokoro and Iceberg lent the Straw Hat crew the use of Rocket Man. The Frankie family showed up, pleading with Luffy to let them join them because they would do anything for their leader, who had also been captured along with Robin. The Rocket Man finally made it out to sea. As the train connected with the tracks, Luffy had to rescue Chimney before she was thrown off by the wind. With Luffy and Chimney safe in the train, Polly told his fellow carpenters who the real culprits were. The Straw Hats, Frankie family, and Galila Company formed an alliance against CP9. When a large tidal wave loomed ahead of Rocket Man, Luffy and Zoro performed a joint move that acted similar to a cannon and blasted a hole through the wall of the wave, opening up a channel for them to pass through. They miraculously passed through unscathed and the passengers rejoiced. In the Rocket Man, Luffy, Zoro, Nami, and Chopper got an outfit change. Nami showed off the weapon Usopp upgraded for her while he was still with them. Those on the Rocket Man then encountered the discarded cars that Sanji had managed to detach from the train ahead, and Zoro sliced them so that they could pass. Zoro then clashed with Ship Cutter T-Bone, who was running on the tracks to catch up to the train ahead. The fight was short, and Zoro joined the crew again in the Rocket Man, victorious. Yokozuna, the frog, then jumped onto the front of the train, knocking them from the rails. After Kokoro had a word with him, he joined the group. Luffy and the others finally caught up to Sanji and Sogeking on another set of detached cars as they approached Enies Lobby. Polly sat down with the group and talked about their plan of entry. Luffy didn't bother to follow the plan and launched himself beyond the gates before the train stopped. Water 7 Saga, Enies Lobby Arc. As the Straw Hats arrived at the Enies Lobby together with the Frankie family and Galila, they planned their move going inside, but unfortunately, Luffy jumped the gun and headed inside on his own. They waited several minutes to open the first gate of Enies Lobby. Zoro had been commanded by Kokoro to slice the fence open, but he commanded Yokozuna to push the fence back instead. Using it as a ramp, the train flew into Enies Lobby. Together, they landed in Oimo's back and started entering the island to their main goal, saving Robin. As they were waiting for the bridge to be activated, they all lined up at the roof, convincing Robin to accept the request of saving her. When they confirmed that the bridge would not be activated anymore, Kokoro volunteered herself to help them, using the Rocket Man. The Rocket Man, using the half-activated bridge as a ramp and while everyone was being held by Luffy, jumped across to the Tower of Justice. When they landed on the Tower of Justice, Fukuro showed up and declared that a key was needed to uncuff Robin. They decided to fight individually and started to search for an agent. Zoro faced Kaku, who he had already fought at Galila. Zoro commented that he had become stronger since then, and in an intense battle, used a new skill to defeat Kaku to finally get his key, which was number 5. After that, he and Sanji carried the injured Sogeking in the tunnel and almost drowned. Luckily, they were saved by Kokoro, who was revealed to be a mermaid. While awaiting the end of Luffy's fight with Rob Lucci, Zoro and the rest of the crew engaged in battle with numerous marines, sent there as a result of the Buster Call inadvertently triggered by Spandam. Zoro came across a marine known as Shu, who used his Devil Fruit ability, causing his Yubashiri to rust. Their escape ship exploded, leaving them seemingly stranded until they heard the voice of Mary telling them to jump into sea. He complied and with the rest of his crew jumped onto the Going Merry. They then evaded the marine battleships and managed to sail away from the destroyed Enies lobby. Water 7 Saga, Post-Enies lobby arc. With the Going Merry, everyone managed to escape Enies lobby safely. After escaping, Iceberg arrived at the Galila Company just in time to pick up the Straw Hat Pirates as the Merry suddenly broke apart. Luffy then gave the Going Merry a Viking funeral by burning it as the crew said their goodbyes. 2 days later, back in Water 7, he was seen staring at the broken hilt of his sword, wondering what he should do. Finally, he was then seen rushing to meet the others to warn them of the Marines' arrival. However, as usual, Zoro ended up getting lost on the way there. When he arrived, he was attacked by Sergeant Helmeppo with dual kukri knives. But Zoro quickly defeated the young man. Zoro was then updated about the Marines being led by Luffy's grandfather, Monkey D. Garp, and reunited with Kobe. He was seen trying to buy a sword but had no money and was thrown out. Later on, Zoro's new bounty was revealed. The bounty was set at 120 million berry. When Luffy was about to invite Usopp back into the crew after hearing he wanted to rejoin, Zoro took a stand on letting Usopp back in, stating that Usopp shouldn't be allowed back into the crew if he returned still full of pride. His reasoning being that Luffy as captain must stand firm as it was Usopp that left them and lost the duel with Luffy over the fate of the Going Merry. He was later seen when he and Sanji informed the rest of the crew that Garp's battleship was near the island. The Straw Hats then boarded their new ship, the Thousand Sunny, and began sailing away from Water 7. After Usopp apologized for his stubbornness, he was happily accepted back into the crew, with Zoro smiling at Usopp's return. Thriller Bark Saga, Thriller Bark Arc. After sailing for some time on the Thousand Sunny, Zoro and the rest of the crew came across a mysterious barrel floating on the ocean. Upon opening it, a flash shot up from it. After braving a storm that mysteriously came afterwards thanks to Nami and Frankie, Zoro and the rest of the crew found themselves in the presence of a ghost ship. This ship apparently belonged to a skeleton named Brook, who, by chance, initially accepted Luffy's offer to join the crew. This apparent new addition to the crew made Zoro scold Nami and Sanji for not keeping Luffy from inviting the skeleton. Zoro then joined for dinner as the skeleton explained his past to the others. Just as Brook was about to perform before Zoro and the rest of the crew, a ghost appeared and some clanking sounds were heard. These sounds were caused by the closing of the gates of Thriller Bark. These events prompted Brook to head to the island before Zoro and the rest of the Straw Hats' eyes. After witnessing Frankie's present to the Straw Hats that the cyborg decided to show them, Zoro and the rest of the Straw Hats decided to look for Nami, Usopp, and Chopper, who had not returned. However, before Zoro and the rest could go to the island, they were stopped by an invisible thing. The thing stole one of Zoro's swords and tried to stab Luffy with it. Luckily, Frankie kicked it away before it found its mark. The thing left Zoro and the rest baffled. After the Thousand Sunny was caught in what was apparently an oversized spiderweb, Zoro and the rest disembarked onto the island. There they met the Cerberus, which did not intimidate Zoro. After Luffy tamed the beast, Zoro and the rest met 2 more of the island's creatures. Luffy caught the talking tree while Frankie caught the unicorn. Zoro and Sanji then stopped Luffy before he could ask the talking tree to join the group. Zoro and the rest then came across some ghosts who affected some of them with their strange abilities. Zoro, seeing his companions in such a pitiful state, merely shook the whole matter off, only to be affected by one of the ghosts himself. After Zoro and the rest who were also affected by the ghost recovered, they pressed forward. Zoro and the rest later met with some zombies and defeated them with a combo technique. The group then met with an old man who looked like a zombie. The old man asked them to defeat Gecko Moria, who had stolen his shadow. While in Hogback's mansion, Zoro disappeared not long after Sanji did. He was later found asleep on the Thousand Sunny with Sanji and Luffy and was woken up by Usopp. After purifying some zombies, Zoro, Frankie, and Sanji were about to cross a bridge leading to Hogback's laboratory when oars smashed it. With the construction of a new bridge done by Frankie, Sanji departed to save Nami. Later on, Zoro and Frankie found the defeated Brook and saved him at the last moment from Ryuma. Seeing the samurai sword, Zoro claimed he intended to fight and take it. After a short but intense battle, he defeated the legendary samurai and gained the sword Shusui from an ashamed Ryuma. When Moria gained control of oars, he ordered him to rampage through Thriller Bark and defeat the Straw Hats. Zoro, wanting to fight him, only cut off his left tusk before being defeated by Oars' attack. Later on, he and the other Straw Hats regained consciousness and started a series of combo attacks against Oars. Using a 108-pound cannon at Oars, Zoro noted how his shusui was heavy, and he was still not adept at using it. After Moria manipulated Oars' body to allow it to stretch, the Straw Hats were taken down one by one. Before Zoro was taken down, Chopper formulated a theory that his right arm was his weak point. As his final movement, Zoro tried to damage the arm, but failed since zombies don't feel pain, and was taken out. After being carried away from the fight between Nightmare Luffy and Oars by the Thriller Bark Victims Association, he regained consciousness and helped Luffy use Giant Bazooka to shatter Oars' spine. As Moria used Shadow Asgard, he stood by watching the fight between Moria and Luffy and was almost burned away by the sun until, with the defeat of Moria, his shadow was finally returned. After launching an attack on the Thriller Bark Victims Association, Bartholomew Kuma targeted Zoro. Zoro tried to fight Kuma, but Kuma just pushed his attacks away with his Nikyu Nikyu no Mi, leaving Zoro at a disadvantage. Kuma then came with an ultimatum: give up Luffy and the rest will be allowed to survive. Zoro, the crew, and the Thriller Bark Victims Association, all in one voice, refused, and so Kuma calmly detonated the island with an Ursus shock, knocking out everybody. However, when Kuma was about to take Luffy, Zoro rose again as one of the only people not knocked unconscious and even launches a successful Shishi-Sansan attack on Kuma, revealing that he's a cyborg. Kuma then stated that he's a cyborg but not like Cyborg Frankie, and furthermore explained that he was an incomplete human weapon created by the world government and Dr. Vegapunk, called a pacifista. Zoro then proceeded to ask for his head to be taken in exchange for Luffy's. Kuma agreed, but at that point, Sanji woke up and wanted to give his head instead. Zoro calmly hit one of his wounds just above his right hip and knocked Sanji out. Kuma then proceeded to use his powers and drew out all of Luffy's pain and fatigue. Luffy had so much pain and fatigue that it formed a gigantic paw of energy bigger than Kuma himself. Kuma gave Zoro a small sample of it, and Zoro could barely tolerate the pain. Kuma then stated that if Zoro were to take in Luffy's injuries, he would definitely die. Zoro then asked to choose a location. Zoro then took the paw of pain and went to a nearby forest. He took a few breaths before he placed his hands inside of the giant paw. When the Straw Hat crew awakened along with the rolling pirates, Sanji went out to look for Zoro and found him in the forest still conscious, surrounded by blood as well as being covered from head to toe in blood. When Sanji asked what happened to him, Zoro replied that nothing happened at all, in a trembling voice. Afterwards, all of the Straw Hats tended to Zoro's injuries. He was seen sleeping in the Thriller Bark mansion with wounds Chopper said were life-threatening, while his crew, minus Chopper, who was taking care of him, and Nami, who was watching over him, celebrated their victory. 2 days later, Zoro was awake and went to the grave that Frankie built for Brook to honor the Rumbar pirates and asked for Brook's permission to lay his Yubashiri to rest near the grave. He later joked that Brook had bad luck since this crew is varied, to which Brook joked back with him. Once he and the rest of the crew finally left Thriller Bark, they held a toast to Brook, the newest Straw Hat. Summit War Saga, Sabaody Archipelago Arc. As the Straw Hats continued their journey, Zoro became embroiled in the battles against the Flying Fish Riders to protect a former enemy, Hachan, against the slave trader Duval. Assisting Hachan in his escape, he came to an understanding with the Fishman while defeating those in their way. After the incident, the Straw Hats arrived at the Sabaody Archipelago, where Zoro decided to go off on his own, presumably to get some liquor, as he was later seen chugging on a bottle of one. Though he claimed he knew where the Sunny was docked, a misread sign made the swordsman run off into the unknown, getting himself lost again. Eventually, he entered an area where a world noble was messing around with his slaves and the local population. Although other members of the 11 supernovas were watching, Zoro unknowingly insulted the noble, who fired his pistol. Zoro dodged the shot and was about to retaliate, but Jewelry Bonnie knocked him to the ground and forced him to play along to prevent an incident that would bring a marine admiral to the island. After the noble left and a brief argument with Bonnie, Zoro proceeded to carry a civilian who was injured earlier by the noble to the nearest hospital, ignoring Bonnie's protests. He later jumped into Luffy's flying fish after being told by the latter to do so in an attempt to find his way back to the ship, but was crashed into the auctioning house along with them. After Hachan was shot, Zoro witnessed Luffy punching St. Carlos in the face, the same noble he himself almost attacked. Zoro remarked that Luffy should have given him the chance to slice the noble himself. He also witnessed the mechanic they were looking for, Silver's Rele, who used an ability known as Haki to knock out the world's nobles' guards, as well as St. Shalria. Zoro assisted Luffy and battled his way out the massive hordes of marines, before escaping along with Rele with the help of Duval's Rosy Life Riders. They returned to Shaki's rip-off bar to rest. There, Rayleigh revealed that he was Gold Roger's first mate, and revealed the truth about how and what led to Roger's execution. After explaining the story of Roger, Rayleigh mentioned Shanks and Buggy as former members of Roger's crew. The mention of Buggy mildly irritated Zoro. Rayleigh congratulated the Straw Hats on making it through the first half of the Grand Line, but told them that he was going to need 3 days to coat the Thousand Sunny. Due to the arrival of an admiral, he would move the ship to avoid getting noticed. He gave the Straw Hats pieces of a Biburu card to meet up once he was done. Because of the admiral threat, Zoro mentions they too should split up to avoid getting caught and meet up at Rayleigh's location. As they said their farewells to Shakuyaku, Keimi, Papag, and Hachan, the Straw Hats departed but were later confronted by what appeared to be the warlord Bartholomew Kuma. As he attacked, the Straw Hats fought back. Zoro noted that there was something different about him. The Straw Hats continued to fight Kuma, and Luffy, Sanji, and Zoro finally delivered a successful counterattack in the form of a combo attack, knocking Kuma back. Zoro deduced that it may not be the real Kuma as he had not reflected their attacks or teleported with his Niku Niku no Mi abilities. Zoro suddenly collapsed from the phantom pain he experienced before when he had all of Luffy's pain and fatigue transferred to him, but managed to get up and hit Kuma with a new Ashura technique which badly damaged the clone before Luffy finished it off. As the Straw Hats rested to catch their breath, they contemplated on how powerful their opponent was and how he came so early as they planned to hide for the next 3 days, and were worried as to how they were going to deal with more opponents like that. Just then, a broadaxe-wielding warrior named Sentomaru appeared with yet another pacifista and ordered it to capture the Straw Hats. As the Straw Hats separated to avoid capture, Zoro, Brook, and Usopp were suddenly confronted by Kizaru, one of the 3 admirals, and he proceeded to attack Zoro with a blast from his kick. With Usopp and Brook unable to do anything to Kizaru due to the power of the Pika Pika no Mi, the admiral attempted to finish Zoro off, but his kick was deflected by Silver's Rayleigh, who intervened to save Zoro. But as PX-1 started chasing after them, Zoro told them to put him down so they could get away. Usopp refused, saying Zoro was more useless in his current condition. Even with Sanji's help, they were all beaten down by the pacifista. Before they could get up to run again, the real Bartholomew Kuma showed up and ordered the pacifista to stop. Zoro instantly recognized him as the real one, and they briefly talked. Kuma asked Zoro about where he would like to go while removing his glove. He then swiftly touched Zoro with his hand, making him vanish. Summit War Saga, Amazon Lily Arc. Zoro landed in the ruins of Shikeru Kingdom on Kuraigana Island in the Grand Line, the same island Perona was sent to. He woke up having been bandaged ridiculously by Perona. He asked for his swords, but Perona refused to give him his weapons back. Eventually, Perona returned Zoro's swords to him. Zoro was walking through the ruins of the island as Perona floated overhead, and he encountered an unknown swordsman. Summit War Saga, Post-War Arc. The swordsman turned out to be a feral baboon known as a human drill, whose tribe has learned to wield weapons from watching soldiers in a great war fought 7 years earlier. The island also turned out to be the home of Mihawk, who upon returning to the castle, informed Zoro of the events at Marineford. Mihawk then gave him a small boat to leave the island, though it was unfortunately destroyed by the human drills. A while later, Mihawk went to the ruins to watch Zoro's battle with the baboons. Mihawk commented on how Zoro was still far away from reaching the sea, even though Zoro had been away from the castle for a long time. Mihawk added that the boat was useless in its current state, but Zoro stated that he would use a part of the boat to help him swim to his destination. Mihawk explained to Zoro about the vicious, imitative nature of these baboons and remarked that they would be difficult but good opponents for Zoro. He then offered Zoro a night at the castle, but Zoro refused, saying he needed to get to the ocean. Zoro was then shown lying on his back, making Perona hold a newspaper up for him to read. He explained that Luffy praying at Marineford and ringing the ox bell was out of character and guessed that Rayleigh was behind it. He asked her to hold still, maintaining that there was some kind of message hidden in the newspaper. Zoro was next shown prostrating before Mihawk, requesting that he trained from the warlord. Mihawk initially dismissed this request, thinking that Zoro was unable to defeat the human drills and escape the island. He chided Zoro and expressed regret for overestimating the swordsman. When Zoro explains that he had defeated the human drills and required training for Mihawk to defeat them, the warlord reconsidered while laughing at the absurdity of the request. Mihawk agreed to Zoro's request and ordered Perona to patch up Zoro so that the training could begin. The reason for Zoro's request was then revealed in Luffy's hidden message. Zoro described this message to Perona, having translated it from the tattoo visible on Luffy's arm. The message ordered all members of the Straw Hat crew to regroup at Sabaody Archipelago in 2 years rather than the 3 days as initially planned. Zoro decided he would use the extra time to train under the world's greatest swordsman and become much stronger. During the time skip, During his training, Zoro also learned from Mihawk how to imbue his swords with Bosushoku Haki. To Zoro's chagrin, Mihawk forbade him from having any alcohol until he had mastered doing so. Fishman Island Saga. Return to Sabaody Arc. After 2 years of training, Zoro, with Perona's help, returned to Sabaody Archipelago. Shaki told him that he was the first to return. He went to a fisherman saying that he was bored and wanted to fish, and accidentally went on a coated pirate ship instead of the fisherman's boat, despite the major difference such as the fisherman's boat being a dinghy and the pirates being a galleon. Later, he fell asleep and the fisherman was unable to wake him up as the coated ship submerged. He was found by Sanji when the ship resurfaced, with him sitting on one of the broken masts after he cut the whole ship in half with his blade, similar to Mihawk, upon waking up. Zoro then tells the unfortunate pirates to blame fate for him being on their ship. He then casually states that he had boarded the wrong ship. Zoro then gets reacquainted with Sanji. Zoro says that he wants to go to the beach and go fishing. Sanji angrily states that it would be a pain for the crew to search for him if he ends up getting lost and forces him to return to the Thousand Sunny. Zoro then ranks Sanji by the order in which he arrived, number 7, much to Sanji's frustration. The two then start their usual bickering, with Zoro threatening to cut Sanji in half. After getting a call by Frankie, Sanji informs Zoro of the Straw Hats' meeting place, which is in Grove 42. They also hear a commotion coming from a nearby grove. When they go see what it is, they find Luffy there along with the Marines and pacifistas, and the crew of the fake Straw Hat crew. After quickly defeating a pacifista and briefly arguing about whose blow actually finished it off, Zoro and Sanji then get reacquainted with Luffy as Zoro ranks Luffy the 9th. Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji then make their way back to the ship. On the way, they come across Rayleigh. When Luffy tells Rayleigh that he's going to become the Pirate King, Zoro just smiles along with Sanji. As Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji head back to the Thousand Sunny, they find Marines blocking their path. Perona aids them by fending off the Marines with her negative holo. When Zoro asks Perona why she's still there, Perona gets angry with him, scolding him for talking that way to someone who was nice enough to bring him to Sabaody. Zoro, Luffy, and Sanji then return to the ship with the aid of Chopper and a giant bird. With the Marines held back by their new allies, the crew submerges on their coated ship and heads for Fishman Island. Fishman Island Saga, Fishman Island Arc. As the crew marvels at the surrounding ocean, Zoro simply states that he has already seen it as he's already boarded a coated pirate ship by mistake. Sanji then scolds Zoro for ruining the moment. He then prepares to catch a fish using his sword, but is comically beaten down by Usopp and Chopper. When Luffy again attempts to catch some fish, he proposes they have a competition, only to be beaten down by his crew again. The crew then starts listening to what Frankie has to tell them about Kuma, while they eat the bentos Luffy brought. Zoro starts to wonder what are Kuma's real intentions, as he still has his doubts. With their sea cow, the Caribou pirates soon caught up with the Straw Hats and prepare for battle. Caribou jumps onto the Thousand Sunny. Before his crew can follow, his sea cow, which turns out to be Momu, fled in fear after seeing Nami, Sanji, and Luffy leaving Caribou behind. Zoro then questions Caribou if he's the captain of that crew, and Caribou gets down on his knees, bows his head, and frantically claims that he's an unfortunate victim and not a pirate. With that settled, the Straw Hats then sail through the underwater currents. When they reach the underwater waterfall, they encounter the Kraken. When Zoro witnesses the Kraken destroying Caribou's ship, he comments that Caribou's crew looks like jellyfishes, much to Caribou's dismay. Zoro, Luffy, and Sanji then equip themselves with Flutterkick coating and fight the Kraken out in the sea. During the battle, Zoro cut one of the Kraken's tentacles, much to Luffy's disapproval. Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji soon defeat the Kraken, but because they're not wearing lifelines, they get separated from the ship as it goes down the underwater waterfall. Luffy successfully tamed the Kraken and named him Tsurume. Unfortunately, Luffy and Sanji's coating had popped, so Zoro had to share his own with them. After some searching, Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji eventually found the Thousand Sunny and the rest of the Straw Hats just in time for Tsurume to save them from the Umibozo. After reuniting with the ship, Zoro was then startled when the undersea volcano started to erupt. Tsurume quickly carried the ship away from the eruption and jumped down a trench. The Straw Hats were in danger because a blast from the volcano caused rocks to fall down on them. Zoro wanted to leave the ship and the bubble in order to cut them, but Robin stops him with her power and warns him about the water pressure. The Straw Hats are able to escape thanks to Tsurume and Usopp's pop greens, with Zoro seen smiling at Usopp's progress and strength. After going through the trench, the crew sees Fishman Island. They soon encounter a gang of sea monsters led by Hammond, who gives the Straw Hats two options: join the new Fishman pirates or die. The Straw Hats prepare to run using coup de burst as Luffy gives Hammond a rejection. Hammond doesn't take kindly to Luffy's rejection and prepares to attack the Thousand Sunny. Frankie activates coup de burst and the ship flies through the bubble surrounding Fishman Island. The ship then falls into a current and the crew gets separated. Sometime later, Zoro was found by King Neptune and brought to Ryukyu Palace and began drinking even after King Neptune suggested waiting for the rest of his crew to get there. After receiving word of the mysterious disappearance of some mermaids from the Mermaid Cove and of Madame Charlie's ominous prediction, the palace guards and personnel took action against the Straw Hats. They locked up Zoro and attempted to capture Usopp, Nami, and Brook, who were invited to the palace earlier, who easily defeated most of the guards. Zoro then frees himself from his cell and reaches the palace hall just in time to intercept an attack by King Neptune. After subduing and tying up the king, the ministers, and the rest of the royal guards, the crewmates have an argument with Zoro, scolded him for overdoing things, but he insists that they had to fight in order to defend themselves. Zoro then tells everyone that they need to leave Fishman Island. The three princes of the Neptune house return to the palace only to find it under the control of the Straw Hats. Since the princes are unable to enter, Fukaboshi speaks with Zoro through Denden Mushi. Zoro demands that in exchange for the freedom of the palace, the Straw Hats would be able to leave Fishman Island peacefully. Fukaboshi agrees with Zoro's terms and tells him Jinbei's message. After hearing noises coming from Shirahoshi's room, Neptune begs Zoro and the other Straw Hats to check up on the princess to ensure her safety. When Zoro asks why they should take orders from hostages, Neptune angrily responds by saying if Shirahoshi is harmed while he's incapacitated, he will chase the crew to the ends of the ocean. Brook instantly dashes off to her location while carrying the Minister of the Right. When they return, the minister informs Neptune of Shirahoshi's disappearance, and Brook yells that pirates, pawn of Hody Jones, are invading the palace. Usopp panics, asking what to do. Zoro gives a simple answer: cut them. Zoro proceeds to defeat the human pirates. The Minister of the Left states that Zoro was enjoying it, much to Zoro's annoyance. However, one of the unconscious pirates' arm laying on top of the connection corridor switch pushes it down and opens the corridor that leads to the palace. Zoro, Usopp, Nami, and Brook then encounter the new Fishman pirates and Vanderdecken the Ninth. Once Decken learns that Shirahoshi is no longer in the palace, he quickly goes after her, leaving Jones to take care of the things in the palace. Jones then crushes a palace wall, flooding the palace in the process. Jones launches an archer's shark attack, injuring King Neptune and some of his soldiers. Zoro launches a counterattack by sending a sword wave at the Fishman. Jones blocks the attack by using one of his own comrades as a shield. Nami goes off to an unknown location, Usopp and Brook untie the guards, and Zoro cuts Neptune's chains. Zoro regrettably states that the negotiation with the kingdom is void since they're unable to keep the hostages unharmed. Before the room is completely submerged, Zoro tells Neptune to take his crewmates to safety. When completely underwater, Zoro prepares to face off against Hody Jones. Even though Zoro is at a disadvantage being underwater and without a flutter kick coating, the swordsman manages to deal a striking blow to Hody Jones. While Jones is knocked out, Zoro quickly surfaces and breathes for air. He then grabs onto Neptune as he prepares to make an escape route. Neptune creates a vortex and clears a path that allows the ministers and the Ryukyu Palace guards to escape. However, Neptune's back gave in, putting him, Zoro, Usopp, and Brook in a dangerous situation. Neptune's whale, Hoei, arrives to save them, but before they can leave the palace, Jones, energized by energy steroids, stops Neptune with one hand. Zoro, Usopp, Brook, and Neptune are then captured by the new Fishman pirates. They then lock up Zoro, Usopp, and Brook in a cage in a room with rising water and plan to drown them after executing Neptune. Brook then shows a new ability in which he can leave his body in spirit form. Zoro instructs Brook to tell Papag to bring him his sword so they can escape. They eventually do escape and appear in the Conchcord Palace with the rest of the crew, preparing to fight against the new Fishman pirates. Zoro, along with Sanji, were getting ready to face off against the enemy. However, Luffy used his Haoshoku Haki and took down half of them. Zoro was quite impressed, and he commented that if the captain couldn't do that much, they would have to search for another one. As the battle with the new Fishman pirates initiates, Zoro defeats the Iron Shell squad with a sword twister. Later, Dosun tries to attack Luffy as he approaches Hody. Zoro intercepts Dosun and knocks him down. Later, when Hyozo goes on a rampage and tries to attack Robin, Zoro intercepts the octopus merman before he reaches her. Zoro comments that Hyozo will be a good warm-up for the new world. Regardless of Hyozo's strength, Zoro manages to cut his swords. Zoro then comments that Hyozo's power is not even enough to kill his boredom. Despite being disarmed, a still drunken Hyozo merely smiled and complained. Later, Zoro seemingly lowers his guard and insults his opponent by calling him a frog. An angered Hyozo then draws new swords, coats them with poison, and attempts a sneak attack. Zoro effortlessly cuts him down and comments that he's just a frog from the bottom of a well. After all the leaders of the new Fishman pirates have been defeated, the Straw Hats look up into the sky as Luffy tries to destroy Noah. When the Sea Kings appear and stop Noah from falling, saving the ship and the island at the same time, everyone on Fishman Island celebrates. After the battle, he's seen with the rest of the crew and their friends by Thousand Sunny, commenting on Chopper's inability to move. He then watches as Chopper performs a blood transfusion between Luffy and Jinbe. Afterward, while floating in the air on the ship, Zoro is appalled at himself for fighting in public the way he did, saying heroes have to share their drinks, and he wants to keep it all for himself. He then goes with the rest of his friends to Ryukyu Palace for this celebratory banquet, where he yells at the guards not to call them heroes. He's then seen happily accepting a drink from a mermaid server and later laughing with Frankie and Hachan. Zoro is later seen sleeping next to Nami, Usopp, and Sanji, who drank, ate, and lusted too much respectively. Luffy wakes him up by asking if he sensed some kind of animal in the palace. The three of them then confront Caribou, and Zoro watches with Sanji as Luffy sends him packing. When the Minister of the Right notices that one of the prison towers was cut in half, he suspects Caribou was the culprit, but Papag tries to tell him it was Zoro. Zoro tells Papag to let him blame it on the thief. He and Luffy then make the connection that Caribou was also the one who stole the palace's treasure and are surprised when Nami gets mad at them for sending him flying. She then sends Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji to look for him. They found Caribou, who was knocked out already. The three then collect the treasures and make their way to the palace. Luffy asks Zoro which direction to go. Zoro points to one direction and Sanji immediately suggests they go the other way, to which Zoro takes offense. They soon arrive at the candy factory and meet Big Mom's messengers, Pekoms and Baron Tamago. Zoro questions the Emperor's manhood and Tamago points out that Big Mom is not a man. Zoro is seen smiling when Luffy answers the phone call from Charlotte Linlin. He's present when Luffy declares war on her. After returning to the palace and informing the crew about the situation with Big Mom, Nami beats Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji for giving the treasure to the Emperor. Afterwards, Zoro and the crew say their farewells to the citizens of Fishman Island and set sail to the New World. While heading to the New World, the crew decides to catch some sea fishes to eat. Zoro stated that they should have a party to celebrate entering the New World. Later, Zoro uses his involved 360-pound cannon to kill the giant sea monster. As the crew gets caught in the White Storm, a group of whales, all of which look like Laboon, stop them from getting lost. After Brook plays Bink Sake, the whales bring the ship up to the surface of the New World, and Zoro comments that it looks like the entrance to Hell. Dressrosa Saga Punk Hazard Arc. Soon after entering the New World, the crew spots an island surrounded by a sea of flames. The Straw Hats then receive a distress call from someone who seems to be in trouble and mentions a samurai attacking and killing them before the broadcast cuts out. Zoro asks Brook about the samurai, who answers that samurai are the swordsmen of Wano country, who have a closed-door policy to outsiders and are not affiliated with the world government. Later, the crew draws straws on who to be the landing party. Zoro, Usopp, and Robin all draw the red straws and then accompany Luffy to Punk Hazard. Nami makes a safe road over the Sea of Flames for them out of clouds, as Zoro and the rest snack on the boxed lunches Sanji made them. Acting on a threat from an earlier argument, Sanji had slipped razors and poison into his meal, but Zoro merely crunched away, as they had no effect on him. Zoro bugs Usopp about returning to his cowardly ways and not eating, himself unaffected by the danger present. As they set foot on land, they come to an iron gate walled up. Zoro slashes the gate down, letting them open. As they explore the island, they're affected by the heat as Zoro and the others strip down from the heat of the flames. They come to the city, finding it blazing hot with most of the buildings melted. Looking at the structures, Robin deduces the buildings to be a former government base. As they begin to explore, they stumble upon a massive skull bigger than a giant's that had perished during this catastrophe. Feeling a presence nearby, they're surprised to encounter a dragon, a monster that Zoro had previously believed to be a myth. The group engages the dragon in battle. Eventually, with a combined effort from Usopp and Luffy, Zoro manages to cleave off the dragon's head. The group then discovers a pair of talking dismembered legs stuck to the dragon's head, which take off in pursuit of a Shichibukai. After the group cuts up and eats the dragon meat and takes the rest with them, they continue their expedition. As Luffy plays with the legs, pretending to be a centaur, Zoro draws the group's attention to a remarkable sight, a lake separating the flaming half of the island from the frozen, mountainous region on the other half. Usopp then sights a humanoid figure with wings. Luffy's group then receives a call from Brook, who informs them that the Sunny has been taken to the frozen side of the island and that the other Straw Hats went missing. After Luffy and Robin defeat two centaurs, the group then decides to go to the frozen side of the island. To cross the lake, Usopp forms a boat from pop greens. While the group rides on the boat, the centaur that Luffy had just fought jumps after them and informs his boss that the pirates are heading his way. The four Straw Hats then see a group of centaurs waiting for them on the other side. The boss spots Zoro and thinks that he was the samurai who attacked their comrades. The centaurs then fire their bazookas at the water around the boat, capsizing it and leaving Usopp and Zoro to hold up Luffy and Robin. Zoro moves to attack the centaurs, but is instead dragged underwater by sharks. The Centaurs prepare to attack the Straw Hats again, but they're stopped by Brook, giving Luffy, Zoro, Robin, and Usopp enough time to escape the lake. After emerging from the freezing water, they plan on stealing coats from the Centaurs. After defeating them and stealing their coats, the group uses Brownbeard as transportation to Vegapunk's former research facility. They soon arrive at the scene where Law and Smoker just fought. After Luffy talks to Law, the group quickly gets away from the Marines and meets up with Sanji, Nami, Chopper, Frankie, and some of the children that were held prisoner in the research facility. They then take shelter in the backside of the facility. The Straw Hats then tie up Brownbeard and bring each other up to speed on the current situation. After interrogating Brownbeard, they learn about a man known as Caesar Clown. Kinemon later leaves the group to find his torso, and Sanji in Nami's body, and Brook volunteer to go search for him while having perverted thoughts. Nami makes Zoro go with them to ensure that they will not do anything indecent. Zoro's group later sees the Yeti Cool brothers' massive footprints and decides to follow them. When they reach the edge of a cliff, they encounter the Yetis. The brothers fire KYP bullets at the group, knocking them out and sending them falling off the cliff towards an icicle trap. Fortunately, Zoro destroys the trap before falling unconscious. After, Sanji kicked Zoro and Brook to wake them up. They then walked and stumbled on a frozen Kinemon by accident. After learning that Kinemon's torso has fallen into the lake, they go to the lake to retrieve it. They then run into Brownbeard's men, but the Centaurs choose to run instead of fighting. When they're close to the lake, Zoro then noticed a mountain he didn't remember from the previous time he was there. Zoro, Sanji, and Brook then stare at the slime and comment that it's doing something mysterious. As Smiley continued to shoot itself over the lake, Brook tells the group that he once read a book about the slime and that it melts away women's clothes. Zoro notices that fish are surfacing on the lake, realizing that they've been poisoned by the slime's toxins. As Sanji jumps into the lake to find Kinemon's torso, Zoro and Brook try to fend off the Smileys close to their position. Zoro watches Brook try to attack the slimes, which releases poisonous gas with each hit. Zoro tells Brook that cutting is no use and should eat it instead. Once Sanji resurfaces, he yells at Zoro and Brook for not doing something about the slime, to which he simply states that attacking it didn't work out. Zoro then watches as Kinemon uses Kitsunebi Ryu to cut the slimes as well as the fire caused by the subsequent explosion. Impressed by Kinemon's performance, he then claims that the samurai swordsmanship had sparked his interest. Zoro is later seen fleeing from Smiley along with Sanji, Brook, and Kinemon. He then watches with the others as the slime begins to change its shape. Resuming its attack again, Zoro and the others begin to run again, deciding to head for the research facility to find Momonosuke. As they run from Smiley, they come across the giant piece of candy left by Caesar for Smiley, and a small dragon made by Vegapunk. They then see a screen appear with Caesar on it, but choose to continue running. After witnessing Smiley exploding, Zoro, Sanji, Kinemon, and Brook run quickly away from the poisonous cloud. They see the small dragon flying away from the poison cloud, and Zoro proposes the idea for them to get on its back and fly away. Struggling to catch up to it, Sanji is able to rush ahead after being motivated by his perversion. He then catches the dragon, allowing the group to finally ride it. Eventually meeting up with Nami, Usopp, and Brownbeard, the two groups turn their attention to Caesar's lab, where Zoro and Kinemon are able to cut down the iron shutter, allowing them to enter. As a result of cutting the iron shutter, the poisonous gas is then able to flow in. The G5 Marines are able to plug the hole with boards, and they blame Zoro and Kinemon for putting everyone in danger. They prepare to arrest the Straw Hats and Brownbeard, and Zoro is getting ready for a fight. Law interrupts them and then tells everyone present about a way off the island, but will have 2 hours to escape. The groups then split into 3 teams, with Zoro going with Kinemon, Nami, Usopp, and Sanji, while the G5 Marine go with Tashigi. Usopp tells Zoro of Luffy's earlier defeat at the hands of Caesar. Zoro then mentions about how his group were beaten by the Yeti Cool brothers and comments on how they cannot let their guards down anymore. While Luffy goes after Caesar, Zoro yells at him, telling him not to be careless and reminds him that they're in the new world. When the G5 Marines attempt to capture the Straw Hats, they're repelled by Zoro, Kinemon, and Brook's 3-way attack. Tashigi stops them from fighting any further and allows the Straw Hats to continue on their way. One of Caesar's henchmen fires a cannon at the wall of Building A, allowing the gas to enter. As the gate exiting Building A is closing, Zoro and the others then make a dash for it. They manage to escape to the passageway to Building B before the gate completely seals off. Brownbeard, Kinemon, and Zoro's group go on ahead through Building B, leaving Tashigi and the Marines to mourn the ones who didn't make it. After attacking Tashigi's group, the small dragon goes after the group riding on Brownbeard. Zoro, lying on Brownbeard's back, appears unfazed by the fire the dragon's breathing, and merely comments that it's more dangerous than the large dragon due to its agility. After the dragon's defeat, the group then finds Chopper in Monster Point, trying to prevent the children from getting their candy. Regardless of his efforts, the children beat him down and run past him when the Rumble Ball wears off. Zoro, Nami, Kinemon, Robin, Usopp, and Brook quickly come to Chopper's aid and run after the children to the biscuits room. Once they reach there, they encounter Monet. Zoro asks who it is, and Usopp says it's the bird woman he had seen before. As Monet stabs Robin from behind, Zoro shouts her name out and interferes from Monet attacking further, stating she's a Logia user and that he will fight her, and tells Robin to handle the rest of the kids as he clashes with Monet. Monet tries to attack Nami, Robin, and Chopper when they attempt to go after the children, but Zoro quickly blocks her. Nami retaliates with a heat egg, damaging Monet. She then dives into the snow and stops Nami, Robin, and Chopper from leaving by creating a wall to block their path. After Robin shatters Monet, Zoro slices down the barrier, allowing Chopper, Nami, and Robin to escape the room and go after the berserk children. Monet and Zoro then continue their duel, and Monet comments that oddly enough, Zoro isn't on the offensive at all and wonders whether she could defeat Zoro. Sanji, Tashigi, and the G5 Marines later arrive at the biscuits room. Zoro and Sanji then comically yell at each other despite the serious situation. Tashigi then decides to stay with Zoro and fight against Monet while Sanji and the Marines go find the children. Tashigi and Zoro begin to argue over Zoro's dismissive treatment of Monet and his apparent reluctance to cut her, with Tashigi believing this to be another example of Zoro's sexism. Zoro gets mad at Tashigi and then he decides to sit out and let Tashigi handle Monet. After a while, Tashigi starts to lose against Monet. After Monet bites Tashigi in the shoulder, Zoro steps in and cuts Monet on the cheek with Busoshoku Haki. While Monet is shocked, Zoro shows how serious he is and slices her in half with Daishinkan. However, since he didn't imbue Haki into his attack, Monet survives. Monet becomes filled with terror knowing that Zoro could have killed her if he chose to. Upon pulling herself together, she tries to attack Zoro in the back only to be struck down by Tashigi. Shortly afterwards, Tashigi berates Zoro for not dealing the finishing blow to Monet when he had the chance, and then she once again gets irritated with him when he tells her that he would have cut Monet if Tashigi did not. After Zoro congratulates her and lets her have the credit, Tashigi gets angry and asks why he talks to her as though he's above her. Zoro simply responds by saying that she is indeed below him, much to her annoyance. After the battle, Tashigi and Zoro try to get away from the deadly gas. Zoro carries Tashigi over his back while she asks him to put her down as soon as they reach her subordinates. While being carried, she notices his rare sword Shusui and gets excited about it. Zoro tells her to stay still and quiet. Zoro gets together with the rest of the Straw Hats, the G5 Marines, the kidnapped children, Law, Momonosuke, Brownbeard, and Kinemon, who has been petrified by the deadly gas. As Zoro tries to help Brook solve Kinemon's predicament, the group enters a rail cart in an attempt to escape the island. While riding through the escape passage, Zoro defends the cart by slicing the falling rubble. Once they make it outside, they find Frankie in his General Frankie and two of Doflamingo's subordinates, Buffalo and Baby 5. After the defeat of Buffalo and Baby 5 and the capture of Caesar Clown, Zoro has a feast with everyone else. Later, while Tashigi and her men are taking the children away from Punk Hazard, the Straw Hats leave with Law, Kinemon, and Momonosuke. While sailing to their next destination, Dressrosa, Luffy tells everyone that he and Law formed an alliance to defeat all four emperors. Zoro seems eager for the challenge. With everyone gathered around, Law explains to the crew about Doflamingo's connection to the underworld and the plan to decimate Kaido's forces. Later that evening, Kinemon notices that Zoro is holding Ryuma's sword and demands a duel with him, accusing him of defiling the grave of Wano's hero. Zoro denies doing such a thing as he fends off Kinemon's attack. Kinemon eventually ceases his attack when he learns that his son is bathing together with Robin. On the next morning, everyone reads the news about Doflamingo's resignation from the Shichibukai. They see that the newspaper also explains about Luffy and Law's alliance as well as the alliance between Kid, Hawkins, and Apu. Dressrosa Saga, Dressrosa Arc. After Law contacted Doflamingo to inform him that they will bring Caesar to Greenbit, Zoro had a meal with the rest of the crew while Kinemon and Momonosuke told them the story about how they were shipwrecked and drifted to Dressrosa, how Momonosuke was separated from his father, and how Kanjuro was captured. The Thousand Sunny later approached Dressrosa. After arriving at Dressrosa, the group split up into teams. Zoro went along with the team to destroy the Sad Factory and save Kanjuro. The team saw everything Dressrosa was famous for and stopped by at a restaurant to get something to eat after putting on disguises. At the restaurant, they found some thugs taking advantage of a blind man while taking away his money in a roulette. After Luffy called the thugs bluff, they then witnessed the blind man use some gravity-like ability on the thugs. After the man left without saying who he was, a commotion started with various people having their possessions mysteriously stolen. A bystander claimed that it was the work of fairies. Zoro got instantly worked up when he notices that Shusui was missing. Zoro managed to spot the thief holding his sword and immediately gave chase alongside Sanji and Kinemon. Kinemon declared that when they capture the thief, he will duel Zoro for the sword. Zoro eventually lost sight of the thief. When Sanji was distracted by a woman named Violet, Zoro ran off, leaving Sanji behind. Zoro later caught up with the thief and retrieved his sword. Right after that, Zoro saw the thief, a dwarf named Wicca. Zoro then grabbed her as she berated herself for getting caught. Since she sprained her leg, she begged Zoro to take her to the flower field so she can report to her commander. She informed Zoro that the Don Quixote family was on their way to attack the Thousand Sunny. Zoro was about to rush to the shore, but Wicca urged him to carry her to the flower fields first. As she guided him, she berated Zoro for his terrible sense of direction. Zoro and Wicca later arrived at the Riku Royal Army headquarters hidden beneath the flower field, where Frankie and the Thunder Soldier are also present. While Wicca tried to remind Zoro about the Thousand Sunny, he watched Luffy competing in a tournament at the Corrida Coliseum via a video broadcast and was grumpy that he didn't get to participate along with Luffy. After learning that Usopp and Robin also have an encounter with the dwarves, Zoro suddenly remembered that he needed to get back to the Thousand Sunny. Zoro was then seen running back to the Sunny with Wicca beside him. On the way, Wicca told him about Jorah as well as Doflamingo's 3 strongest subordinates. They then ran into Sanji and Kinemon. After learning that Nami's group back at the Thousand Sunny was in trouble, Sanji went to save them. Zoro and Kinemon stayed behind at the Corrida Coliseum, wondering how to get in. Bartolomeo then spoke to them and offered to help them find Luffy while asking for Zoro's autograph. With Bartolomeo's guidance, Luffy came to them. He then informed Luffy that the Coliseum was surrounded by Marines, who quickly dismissed the fact despite Kinemon's shock. They then engaged in a conference call with Sanji and Frankie's group. After everyone is brought up to speed and learned the true situation on Dressrosa, they gained Luffy's approval to join the revolution. Zoro, Kinemon, and Luffy then witnessed the dramatic conclusion of a battle between Doflamingo and Law, which raged across Dressrosa and stopped right outside the Coliseum. They're shocked to see Doflamingo standing above his opponent and then shoot Law 3 times at close range. Zoro and Kinemon then rushed Doflamingo to save Law. Zoro was intercepted by Isho, the blind gambler they helped earlier. As Kinemon informed everyone of what was happening, Isho used his ability to push Zoro underground, but the swordsman was able to propel himself and send a flying slash towards the admiral, which he repelled, commenting on it being merciless. After Kinemon was kicked away by Doflamingo, the samurai informed everyone that the blind gambler is actually a marine admiral. Both Doflamingo and Isho float above their opponents using their abilities, taking Law with them, and head towards the palace. After the Marines started pursuing Zoro and Kinemon, Zoro told Luffy to find the exit. They then heard that the Sunny was under attack by the Big Mom Pirates, who are after Caesar Clown. While Sanji's group continued on to Zou and Frankie's group was left in charge of destroying the Smile Factory, Luffy decided to go to the palace with Zoro and Kinemon to rescue Law and fight Doflamingo. After Luffy finally escaped the Coliseum, the trio wore disguises to elude the Marines, provided by Kinemon's ability. Zoro was annoyed that Luffy had been crying non-stop. Luffy then revealed to Zoro and Kinemon that someone dear to him is still alive. Zoro, Luffy, and Kinemon later arrived at the lift that leads to the royal palace alongside the dwarf Wicca. There they encountered Viola, who offered to guide them to the palace. After getting acquainted with her and learning about her ties with the Riku family, Zoro's group was then led to a secret passage. Once inside the passage, Zoro suggested that they use a basket used for lifting supplies, and that Luffy should climb up carrying a rock and hang from a chain to act as a counterweight for the basket to move up. He and Kinemon then sit on the basket before Luffy reached the top. They were later seen at the palace rampart tower. Viola was about to sneak them in, but Luffy went ahead and smashed his way through the gate. Having alerted the guards, they decided to charge in. Once Zoro, Luffy, and Viola reached the rampart tower B1, they were intercepted by Pika. After Viola explained about Pika's devil fruit power, Pika attempted to crush Zoro's group with the palace walls. Luffy and Viola went ahead while Zoro stayed to battle Pika. While fighting the executive officer, Zoro wondered how he should attack him. During the time the toys transformed back into their original forms, Pika left the battle and Zoro wondered where he went. He later went outside of the outer wall tower and noticed the commotion happening in the country and continued wondering where Pika was. After Doflamingo trapped Dressrosa in his birdcage and Pika relocated to the royal palace to the top of the Flower Hill, Doflamingo forced everyone into a survival game and put a price on the heads of a certain group of people. Zoro was included in Doflamingo's hit list, with his 2 stars giving him a 200 million bounty. Zoro reunited with Luffy's group and contacted Robin through Den Den Mushi. After Luffy declared that he will defeat Doflamingo and end his game, he grabbed Zoro and Law and pursued Doflamingo. Luffy jumped down from the King's Plateau and they landed in the middle of a crowd of enemies. After a brief scuffle with Senor Pink, Mach Weiss, and Dellinger, the Dressrosa citizens started attacking Zoro and his group. Isho soon arrived to confront them as well. While Zoro clashed swords with Isho again, Pika joined the fray while appearing as a massive stone giant. While Luffy made Pika angry by laughing at his high-pitched voice, the elite officer threw a colossal punch. Luffy and Zoro ran from it, with Zoro chastising Luffy for laughing at his voice, but simultaneously failing to suppress his own laughter, much to Law's annoyance. The impact of the punch sends Luffy, Zoro, and Law flying to the square in front of the Colosseum. They're soon joined by those who also wish to fight Doflamingo: Cavendish, the Chinjao family, Harudin, Elisabello II, Dagama, Abdullah, Jeet, Orlumbus, Ideo, Suleiman, and Blue Gilly. Zoro commented that Luffy made strange friends and also commented on their big ego when each of them said that they will defeat Doflamingo themselves. After Fighting Bull joined the group, Zoro and his allies then marched towards the royal palace and began to fight against Pika. When Pika attacked, Chinjao and Elisabello II shattered his stone arm, enabling Zoro and his allies to move forward. Pika prepared to attack with his other arm, and Zoro informed Chinjao and Elisabello II that attacking Pika's stone body is useless. Pika attacked with his other arm, causing Luffy's allies to fall back. As this happened, Zoro, Luffy, Law, Abdullah, Jeet, and Fighting Bull managed to jump on his arm and started climbing on it. Pika soon noticed them after regenerating his shattered arm, and he prepared to attack Luffy again. Luffy then responded by shattering Pika's stone head with Grizzly Magnum. After Luffy shattered Pika's stone head, Zoro discovered Pika's real body, which appeared in front of the group. Pika took out his sword and tried to attack the Fighting Bull carrying Luffy's group, but Luffy carried the bull and evaded the sword. Pika tried to strike again, but Zoro intercepted him and initiated another battle with the executive. As the battle went on, Zoro was able to fight Pika without much difficulty. Zoro and Pika later noticed Robin, Rebecca, and Bartolomeo approaching from the sky with the assistance of beetles. Pika prepared to attack the trio with a stone statue, but Zoro used 1080-pound cannon to strike him, halting Pika's attack and injuring him in the process. Zoro then explained to Pika that he's the man who will become the greatest swordsman in the world. Enraged that Zoro's interference allowed Rebecca's group to pass him, Pika charged at Zoro again, declaring that he would not be allowed to leave alive. Pika eventually sent Zoro crashing into the second level of the New King's Plateau, though Zoro didn't sustain any serious injuries. Some of Doflamingo's grunts were about to attack Zoro, but Orlumbus arrived and repelled them. After thanking Orlumbus, Zoro ran through the second level and was quickly confronted by Pika again. The swordsman then angered Pika by making fun of his laugh. Mach Weiss then noticed Zoro and prepared to crush him with his destructive 1,000-ton vice attack. Before Mach Weiss landed, Harudin delivered a powerful punch to the officer and sent him flying to the ceiling of the birdcage. When the giant collapsed from his injuries, Zoro promised him that the birdcage will be gone by the time he wakes up. Elisabello II later offered some assistance. Zoro appreciated the offer, but told him to save his king punch for later. Zoro then witnessed Laoji's defeat and took note of Sai's destructive power. After Pika went to the sunflower field to speak to Kairos and Rebecca following Diamante's defeat, he returned to the second level to fight Zoro and attack the wounded. Zoro reminded him that he was his opponent, and while fighting with him, Pika asked who it was standing on the Old King's Plateau. Zoro told him it was the rightful king of Dressrosa, enraging Pika. Pika inhabited the statue and made his way towards the Old King's Plateau. Zoro quickly went over the options he had to stop Pika and eventually made the decision to leap into the sky and cut him in half. Zoro prevented Elisabello from using his king punch just yet and asked him to wait for 2 minutes while he dealt with Pika. Running up to Orlumbus, Zoro had him use his Admiral's killer bowling to propel him towards Pika, whom was preparing to crush Rikudoldo III. Imbuing his swords with Bosushoku Haki and preparing Santoryu Ogi, Daisen Sekai, Zoro proclaimed that there was nothing in this world that he couldn't cut, before bifurcating Pika's stone form with Ichidai Sanzen. He proceeded to cut the top of the stone in half to determine where Pika was, only for Pika to emerge on his own and armor his entire body with Bosushoku Haki before claiming that Zoro hasn't won just because he's destroyed the stone body. However, Zoro notes that the end result of this battle depends on whose Haki is stronger before cutting down Pika in midair with Sanzen Sekai. After Elisabello used his king punch to blast away the rest of Pika's stone body, Zoro noted that he was just in time. Hanging onto a wall, Zoro examined his sword for any nicks and was satisfied to find no marks on his sword. He was then pulled up by Usopp, at which point the latter and Kinemon praised him for his display of strength. Zoro told them to save their praise for when the birdcage was taken down, as it was proof that Doflamingo still had not been defeated. As Doldo, Tank, and the citizens were leaving the Old King's Plateau, Zoro heard about Law's defeat from Viola. Zoro is then seen watching nervously as the birdcage starts to shrink. As he left the Old King's Plateau, Zoro informed Kinemon and Kanjuro about his intention to stop the birdcage. While running past Frankie, Zoro informed him of his plan to buy time. Once he and the samurais reached the birdcage, Zoro hardened his swords with haki and attempted to push the birdcage back despite the samurai's objection. Zoro then angrily asked them to help him instead of doing nothing. Zoro continued pushing back the birdcage with his swords as many others joined in. Once Guts announced Luffy's promise to defeat Doflamingo with one punch continued pressing, Zoro hoped that Luffy could fulfill his promise, knowing that they couldn't keep the birdcage back forever. When Luffy regained his strength after being worn out for 10 minutes, Zoro smiled. Once Luffy finally defeated Doflamingo, Zoro and the samurais witnessed the collapse of the birdcage. Zoro continued smiling as everyone in Dressrosa celebrated Doflamingo's downfall. Zoro and his group were later seen resting and recovering in Kairos' old house. Zoro then listened to Sabo's story. Before Sabo departed, he gave Zoro a visitor card for Luffy. 3 days after Doflamingo's defeat, Zoro and the other Straw Hats continued with their recovery. They were eating a meal as they heard the rumor about Rebecca's father. Bartolomeo then entered the house and informed them that the Marines were mobilized to pursue the Straw Hats. He also explained that there was an escape route planned for them. When the Marines were about to storm Kairos' house, Zoro and the others fled. Zoro's group then went to the eastern port. While waiting for Luffy, they saw Isho approaching. When Isho prepared to strike all of Luffy's allies with all the rubble from Dressrosa, they quickly fled to the escape ship. At that moment, Luffy arrived and attacked Isho. As Zoro watched the battle between Luffy and Isho, Zoro wondered why Luffy was announcing each of his attacks. After Luffy was blown away and caught by Haruden, Zoro prepared to fight the Admiral, but Bartolomeo stopped him, saying that it wasn't the right time or place. The Straw Hats and their allies quickly fled across a bridge leading to the gigantic ship in the distance. Isho prepared to drop the rubble on them, but was obstructed by the Dressrosa citizens who were pretending to chase after the pirates. The Straw Hats and their allies eventually reached Orlumbus's flagship, the Yonta Maria. After boarding the ship, the following pledged their allegiance to the Straw Hats: Cavendish of the Beautiful Pirates, including Suleiman, Bartholomew of the Barto Club, Sai of the Happo Navy, Ideo of the XXX Gym Martial Arts Alliance, including Blue Gilly, Abdullah, and Jeet, Leo of the Tontada Tribe, Haruden of the Giant Warrior Pirates, and Orlumbus of the Yonta Maria Grand Fleet. When Luffy was asked to drink a sake cup to complete the agreement for an alliance, Luffy declined, much to the others' shock. While Luffy was explaining that they can do whatever they want, Zoro drank from Luffy's cup. Thanks to him, Luffy found his cup empty when Sai, Bartolomeo, Leo, Cavendish, Ideo, Orlumbus, and Haruden sat down and drank their sake cups. Once the Straw Hats fleet was formed, they held a feast to celebrate their victory over Doflamingo. After the feast, each of the leading allies received Luffy's Vivre card and parted ways. Bartolomeo then brought the Straw Hats, the samurais, and Law to his ship, the Going Luffy Senpai. After Zoro noticed the Straw Hats' increase in bounty from a newspaper, Bartolomeo proudly showed Luffy's group their new wanted posters. Upon seeing his, Zoro gleefully asked if there was any alcohol around so that he could celebrate. 4 Emperor Saga Zou Arc. During a hailstorm, Zoro was shocked to learn that the Bardo Club doesn't have a navigator. They lack experience in sailing, and they usually call the granny who gives them useless advice. Therefore, Zoro, the other Straw Hats, the samurais, and Law needed to protect the ship. After 1 week of traversing through the dangers of the New World, the ship finally arrived at Zou. After finding the Thousand Sunny, the Bardo Club bid Luffy's group farewell. Proceeding to search for Sanji's group, they climbed the giant elephant's left hind leg with a dragon that Kanjuro conjured. After the samurais explained that they were also searching for their ninja comrade Raizo, the group saw something dropping towards them. The thing that was falling towards them happened to be a monkey. The monkey hit Kinemon and Kanjuro, causing them to fall off the dragon. Despite being separated from the group, the samurais assured the Straw Hats that they were all right and will catch up to them eventually. The rest of the group considered turning back for them, but after they saw the dragon struggling to climb, they decided to continue towards the top. Once they reached the top, the dragon turned back into a drawing while Zoro and Law remained unconcerned about it. They later entered a village and Luffy ran ahead of the group. While exploring the village, they saw signs of a recent attack. Zoro was then attacked by a rabbit mink named Carrot, and they clashed until a dog mink, Wanda, appeared and stopped her. Right after Wanda interrupted the fight, Zoro wondered what kind of weapon Carrot used. Wanda and Carrot proceeded to leave in a hurry to deal with an intruder at the whale's forest. Before leaving, Wanda explained to Zoro's group about where to find a corpse of their comrade. Zoro and the others thought that Wanda was saying the other Straw Hat members died, but they didn't believe that to be true and they continued exploring the island. As they explored the Mink tribe's civilization, they found more signs of a recent battle. During their exploration at Claw City, the group experienced an eruption rain and they fled to higher ground. Once the rain passed, they surmised that it's a daily occurrence occurrence based on how the city is built. Right after Usopp spotted Luffy with Carrot and Wanda, Law teleported the group close to their location. Wanda then led them into Right Belly Fortress, where they reunited with Nami and Chopper. While having a feast with the Mink tribe, Zoro was annoyed with how the Minks wanted to play with him. The group was then reunited with Brook, who explained that Momonosuke was safe but refused to leave his room. He also warned the group not to mention samurai or the Wano country. Before he could explain the reason, he was interrupted by canine minks. Nami then asked them what to do about Sanji. Since Sanji left a letter, Zoro and Luffy were not too worried, much to Nami's chagrin. Zoro then listened to Nami and Chopper's story about how they escaped the Big Mom pirates before listening to Wanda's story about how Nami's group saved the Mink tribe. After hearing that Prince Ino Arashi awakened from his coma and wanted to meet Zo's benefactors, Zoro and his group went to meet him. On the way, Wanda began to explain to them about Jack's attack on Zo in more detail. During her explanation, Wanda revealed that Jack was searching for a Wano ninja named Raizo. After Wanda finished with her recollection, Brook explained to his crew the reason why they shouldn't mention samurai or the Wano country. They then arrived at the Duke's home, where they were introduced to Shishilian, who expressed his gratitude to the crew. After entering the Duke's home, they heard about a weapon Jack used against the Mink tribe. After Wanda recalled the devastation caused by Jack and the Mink tribe's salvation, the Straw Hats decided to visit Nekomamushi and the Guardians. They then traveled to the Whale Forest with Wanda and Carrot. After hearing about the circumstances concerning Sanji's departure from Zo, Zoro appeared indifferent about it, much to Chopper's annoyance. Zoro then reminded his crew that as much as destroying the Sad Factory on Punk Hazard angered Doflamingo, destroying the Smile Factory at Dressrosa angered Kaido. He went on explaining that Kaido was also targeting the samurai for some unknown reason, and they should be expecting a confrontation with the Beast Pirates sometime in the future. Zoro and Nami then argued about whether or not Sanji was at fault for leaving. After Luffy decided to find Sanji, they arrived at the Whale Forest. Zoro listened in on the conversation between Luffy and Peccoms as Peccoms explained in detail about Sanji's predicament. Luffy then ran out to look for Chopper and found Zoro sitting on a bench. Luffy assumed that Zoro was also worried about Sanji, much to his annoyance. Nekomamushi arrived and greeted Luffy and Zoro. Zoro, his crew, except Frankie, Robin, and Brook, and the Heart Pirates then partied with Nekomamushi and his subjects. On the next morning, Zoro and his group heard a bell ringing and realized that Kinemon and Kanjuro had arrived. They quickly rushed to find them, fearing what would happen if the Mink tribe meets the samurais. The Straw Hats managed to intercept Kinemon, Kanjuro, and Momonosuke just as they arrived at Kurao City, and tried desperately to keep them hidden. However, as Nekomamushi and Ino Arashi were fighting, Kinemon and Kanjuro revealed themselves. Contrary to what the Straw Hats expected, the Mink tribe welcomed the samurai and revealed that Raizo is safe. The Straw Hats were stunned to learn that the Minks knew about Raizo all along and went to great lengths to keep them hidden despite the abuse they suffered. The Straw Hats were further shocked when they learned that Momonosuke was not Kinemon's son, but rather was the heir to the daimyo of Kuri. However, Zoro and Usopp became enraged when Momonosuke hugged Nami, and she was fine with it due to deducing that his father was wealthy. Ino Arashi and Nekomamushi then led the Straw Hats, Law, and the samurai to Raizo's location, a secret cave inside the whale-shaped tree. When Robin deciphered the red poneglyph hidden inside the whale tree, Ino Arashi then explained to the Straw Hats about the 4 road poneglyphs, and they listened in anticipation as he revealed how they can leave to Laugh-Tale, and Nekomamushi revealed that Kaido and Big Mom each possessed 1 road poneglyph. The Straw Hats were surprised when Nekomamushi revealed that Momonosuke's ancestors created the poneglyphs. However, the samurai explained that Momonosuke never inherited the knowledge of the poneglyphs due to the execution of Lord Oden at the hands of Kaido and the Shogun of Wano. When Zoro asked why Oden was executed, Kinemon revealed that Oden was part of Roger's crew and had been on Laugh-Tale with him, as well as the Beast Pirates' objective in obtaining the secret that Oden knew. Zoro then realized the reason why Doflamingo and Kaido were after the samurai. However, they explained that Oden never revealed the secret of the world to them before he died. He then watched Luffy form an alliance with the samurai and the Mink tribe in order to defeat Kaido and the Shogun of Wano. Right after they left the secret room, Zoro and the others learned that Ino Arashi and Nekomamushi traveled with Oden and had been on the ships of both Whitebeard and Roger. The alliance decided to split up to accomplish different tasks and meet up again at Wano. However, before they could start their operation, they felt Zo shaking and heard Zunisha crying. As everything shook around them, they witnessed Luffy and Momonosuke's ability to hear Zunisha's voice. They then heard from Momonosuke that Jack returned to Zo and started attacking Zunisha. On Momonosuke's command, Zunisha sank Jack's fleet with 1 blow. With the threat of Jack ended, everyone became calm again. While the Samurai Pirate Mink Alliance prepared to get on their missions, Zoro decided to accompany Kinemon's team. As the Sanji retrieval team departed from Zo, everyone except for the Straw Hat members left behind were shocked when Luffy jumped off Zunisha with his party. For Emperor Saga, Wano Country Arc. Upon arriving at Wano, Kinemon instructed the Straw Hats and Heart Pirates to blend in with the populace as they readied their plot to recruit allies for the invasion of Kaido's lair, Onigashima, on the day of the Fire Festival. Zoro adopted the alias Zoro Juro and wandered the streets of the flower capital as a Ronin, otherwise known as a masterless samurai. However, he was then arrested under the accusation of committing murders on the streets at night. He was brought before the magistrate Toyama Sujigiro, who sentenced him to death by seppuku and confiscated Shusui. However, Zoro then noted the smell of blood on Sujigiro and realized he was the murderer. Zoro then unleashed a flying slash that cut down Sujigiro, as well as sliced through much of the structure he stood on. Now a wanted man, Zoro escaped from the flower capital and lived as a vagabond, eating the animals that roamed the vast wastelands. One day he encountered a platoon of beast pirates chasing a villager named Tsuru, and took down the pirates. A nearby Luffy then called out to Zoro, and the two crewmates reunited. However, their reunion was quickly interrupted by the arrival of another beast pirates platoon led by Basil Hawkins. The two groups began fighting and Zoro slashed at Hawkins, but the damage was transferred to one of the Supernova's subordinates due to his devil fruit power. Luffy and Zoro were then pulled away by the Komainu, Komachio, in order to get treatment for Luffy's sick companion Tama. Hawkins covered himself in straw and fired large nails, some of which struck Zoro and injured him. However, Zoro kept him at bay with a sword slash. Tsuru then introduced herself to Luffy and Zoro, and said they could go to her house where she would brew a treatment for Tama. The group went to Okoboreitown, where a woman named Okiku bandaged Zoro's wounds. A sumo wrestler named Urashima was courting Kiku but ran off after encountering Zoro. After treating Tama, Tsuru told Zoro and Luffy about the destruction inflicted on Wano by Kurozumi Orochi's shogunate. Zoro then intercepted an arrow fired by the Beast's pirate's gifter Batman at Tsuru, and as he was fending off more arrows, Tama was then kidnapped by the gifter Gazelleman. Kiku immediately took a sword and mounted Komachio to pursue them, and Luffy pulled himself and Zoro up on the animal as well. As they got moving, Kiku revealed that she was a samurai. The trio rode Komachio to Bakura Town, a place populated with pirates and government officials. They came to a sumo ring where Urashima was competing, and Kiku hid behind Zoro. However, Urashima's subordinates were able to get her and carry her off, though Kiku responded by cutting off Urashima's top knot. Luffy entered the ring and defeated Urashima, and some beast pirates then arrived to confront the trio. As Zoro, Luffy, and Kiku fended them off, the Shinichi Hold'em then arrived with Tama as his hostage. Luffy proceeded to knock out Hold'em and rescue Tama, while Zoro seized a cart full of fresh food and had Komachio pull it out of the town. They were joined by Law, who berated Zoro for getting into trouble once again. They successfully made it back to Okobore Town with Tama and the food in tow, and the impoverished citizens were delighted to be able to consume fresh food and water. Law told Zoro and Luffy to go with him to the ruins of Oden Castle on a nearby mountain, and they were joined by Kiku. However, as they rode Komachio up the mountain, Zoro inexplicably got lost and ended up wandering to a wharf where he took a ride on a boat. While sailing, he received a newspaper with the news that Luffy had been beaten by Kaido, which caused him to recoil in shock. Zoro ate a lot of sushi and wasabi on his ride, but a man named Tonoyasu paid for it. The two of them then went to an inn, where Zoro won a considerable amount of gambling matches and beat up Yakuza thugs who tried to stop him. This caused Tonoyasu to tag along with Zoro for protection, and the two of them walked through Kibi together. Yasu took Zoro to his homeland of Ebisu Town by the flower capital, where the residents all smiled and laughed constantly. The next day, Shusui was stolen by a man named Yukimaru, and Zoro chased him all the way to Ringo. They dueled on Oihagi Bridge after Yukimaru had already returned Shusui to Ryuma's grave, with the bandit not believing that Zoro had obtained the legendary sword rightfully. However, the duel was interrupted when a young woman named Kozuki Hiyori and a young girl named Toko came rushing in while pursued by an assassin named Kamazo, who, unbeknownst to Zoro at the time, was the supernova killer. Hiyori begged Zoro to help her, and Zoro agreed on the condition of receiving food and alcohol in return. Zoro and Kamazo then engaged in a fierce duel, but Yukimaru would occasionally jab at Zoro with his naginata while the swordsman was distracted, forcing him to make even more effort to dodge. Eventually, an attack from Yukimaru distracted Zoro enough to allow Kamazo to impale the side of his chest with a scythe. However, Zoro was then able to rip out the scythe and put it in his mouth in place of Shusui, and he performed a Santoryu attack which cut down Kamazo. He then collapsed and fell unconscious from his bleeding. Zoro woke up in a house in the northern cemetery and found that Hiyori had tended to his wounds. Hiyori gave him the food and alcohol that he requested and revealed her identity and relationship to Momonosuke. Zoro then fell asleep and was woken up the next morning by the arrival of Brook. To his shock, Hiyori had been laying on his chest. Brook revealed that Tonoyasu was going to be executed in the flower capital shortly, and Toko, revealing that Yasu was her father, ran off to find him. Zoro, Brook, and Hiyori chased after her, but they arrived at the city right as as Tonoyasu, who was actually the former daimyo Shimotsuki Yasue, was shot to death by Orochi and his forces. Zoro was appalled upon seeing Toko and the Ebisu town citizens laugh in response to Yasue's death, but Hiyori then revealed to him that they had no choice as Orochi put defective smiles in their food supply that forced them to smile and laugh all the time. Orochi then attempted to shoot Toko as she stood over her father's body, and both Zoro and Sanji moved to save her. Enraged at the shogun, Zoro launched 2 spinning flying slashes towards him, but this attack was countered by the samurai Kyoshiro. The two of them dueled as Kyoshiro prevented Zoro from going after Orochi, allowing the shogun to escape. Hiyori then came under attack by the Orochi Oni Wabanshu ninja Fujin and Raijin, and Zoro went and cut down Raijin as he took Hiyori to safety. Zoro and Hiyori escaped to the Enma shrine outside the capital, and Zoro was forced to cut down many Oni Wabanshu members pursuing them. After taking care of the threat, he decided to go to Ryuma's grave and get Shusui back, expressing his desire to avenge Yasu. Zoro and Hiyori returned to Oihagi Bridge the next day, and Zoro overwhelmed Yukimaru in their rematch. However, their duel was interrupted by the Kozuki family retainer, Kawamatsu, who reunited with Hiyori. A group of beast pirates then arrived to attack Yukimaru, but Zoro and Kawamatsu proceeded to quickly take them out. Yukimaru then ran off and Zoro pursued them. Zoro chased Yukimaru to an abandoned village where the bandit opened up a secret entrance before disappearing. Zoro, Kawamatsu, and Hiyori discovered a room filled with weapons, which Kawamatsu and Yukimaru, who was actually a shape-shifting fox named Onimaru, had stockpiled many years back in preparation for the impending battle. Hiyori then requested that Zoro leave Shusui in the possession of Wano. Zoro initially objected, but she offered to give him Enma, a meito of the same quality that once belonged to her father, as a replacement. Zoro agreed to this, and 2 days later he went back to Kuri with Kawamatsu to meet with the Alliance and discuss the strategy for their invasion, with Hiyori remaining in Ringo until the war ended. Tenguyama Hitetsu presented Enma to Zoro, and as Zoro took the blade, a considerable amount of Bosushoku Haki was drawn out from his arm. However, Zoro managed to take control over Enma and regulate the amount of Haki it drew before it could sap him of all his strength. He then tried to cut a tree with the blade, but to his shock, accidentally unleashed a cut powerful enough to slice off the entire cliff face. For the next 5 days, Zoro trained with Enma to improve his control over the meito. On the day of the fire festival, Zoro and the Straw Hats sailed out from Kuri on the Thousand Sunny and went to the Alliance's promised meeting place of Tokage Port. They arrived there at the same time as the Heart Pirates and Kid Pirates, and the 3 crews came just in time to stop a beast pirate fleet from attacking Kinemon's group. The rest of the samurai in the Alliance arrived soon afterwards, and the battle against the beast pirates fleet concluded when Jinbe suddenly arrived to take out their last ship. The Straw Hats had a happy reunion with Jinbe, who officially became part of the crew. The Alliance fleet drew close to Onigashima, and the Straw Hats proceeded to disembark and take out the Tori guards at the island's entrance. The rest of the Alliance then disembarked, and although the plan was for them to sneak around to the back entrance of Kaido's fortress, the Kid Pirates had already entered it through the front. Luffy decided to go after them and stop them, and Zoro went in afterward to stop Luffy in turn. After hearing chaos erupt, Zoro cut a tower in the fortress to see what was going on, and found Luffy. With their identities now exposed, the 2 pirates were forced to battle the massive hordes of beast pirates in the fortress. And the Supernova and Beast Pirates informant Scratchman Apu joined in their assault by using music-based attacks, which dealt significant injuries to both pirates. Realizing they were in danger of taking excessive damage before even meeting Kaido, Zoro grabbed Luffy and tried moving to a safer area. They ran into Kid and Killer in the process, and the latter told them to cover their ears to gain immunity to Apu's attacks. Zoro became split up from the others as they advanced further into the castle and stayed busy fending off hordes of gifters. However, he was eventually joined by the Alliance forces as they commenced their all-out assault. Zoro ended up on the live stage right as Luffy was about to pull himself up to the roof where Kaido was through a hole in the Skull Dome ceiling, and he grabbed onto Luffy to go with him. However, the two of them were stopped in midair by the Beast Pirates All-Star Queen, who transformed into a Brachiosaurus and caught them in his mouth. To make matters more difficult, an aerial platoon led by the All-Star King flew in to further cut off air passage. Queen spat Zoro and Luffy down to the live floor far below, where they regrouped with the rest of their crew and geared up for another push to get Luffy and Zoro up to the roof. The Straw Hats and other Alliance forces charged into battle against the Beast Pirates, and Zoro bisected the metal club of Goki of the Numbers before the immensely large fighter could attack a horde of samurai. As the battle raged on, X-Drake, who had been one of the Beast Pirates' Tobiropo, very suddenly attacked one of the Numbers and asked the Straw Hats to let him fight on their side. Zoro was immediately suspicious of Drake and the two clashed, with Drake assuring he was now an enemy to the Beast Pirates but not divulging his true allegiance. However, when Apu returned to the battlefield, the two of them decided to form a temporary truce to take him down. Queen then shot at the fighters on the live floor with Excite bullets carrying a virus he had created called Ice Oni, which turned those infected mindlessly violent before killing them within an hour. To make things into a game, he gave Apu the antibodies for it, and Zoro immediately began chasing Apu to seize them. Drake joined him again in assaulting Apu. However, as the chase persisted, Zoro saw Big Mom heading up towards the dome roof, and more of the Alliance's forces falling victim to the Ice Oni. Tired of the Queen's game, Zoro proceeded to charge towards Apu and cut him down in the blink of an eye. He seized the antibodies vial and immediately gave it to Chopper, and when Queen tried to shoot him, Zoro bisected his Gatling gun with a long-range flying slash. Zoro turned his attention back to getting up to the roof, and Marco of the Whitebeard Pirates arrived to help. Drake told Zoro to leave the rest of the Beast Pirates to him, and Zoro decided to put his trust on the Turncoat as he had Marco use his Phoenix transformation to fly him up to the roof. Marco managed to avoid the attacks from King and Queen and throw Zoro up through the hole in the ceiling. And Zoro landed on the roof to confront Kaido and Big Mom at the exact same time that Luffy, Law, Kid, and Killer arrived. After Luffy punched Kaido to the ground and hurt him with an advanced Busoshoku Haki, Big Mom tried attacking the Supernovas with her son homie Prometheus. However, Zoro was able to bisect Prometheus using Kitsunebi Ryu, which he had successfully learned from observing Kinemon. Zoro and Killer then charged at Kaido and struck him, but Zoro was unable to utilize enough power out of Enma to truly damage the Emperor. Kaido then transformed into his dragon form, and Zoro had Law teleport him into the air so he could bisect the Emperor's fire breath and prevent it from striking Luffy. Zoro then unleashed a powerful flying slash from Enma toward Kaido, but the strike missed and he proceeded to be struck by a thunderbolt from Big Mom and her Thundercloud homie Zeus. Luffy's Gear 4th then expired after he used it to pummel Kaido, forcing Zoro to carry him out of danger from Big Mom's attacks. Kaido generated multiple tornadoes that blew Luffy away from Zoro, and the Emperor trapped Luffy inside his mouth. However, Zoro then unleashed a whirlwind slash attack that successfully cut through Kaido's scales and forced him to release Luffy. Kaido then transformed into his Zoan hybrid form, and the Supernovas formed a strategy to split up the two emperors after failing to gain any sort of advantage. Kaido and Big Mom proceeded to unleash a combined attack called Hakai that inflicted a devastating explosion-like force over a wide area. However, Zoro was able to resist the attack with all his might for just long enough to allow the Supernovas to escape its impact. Despite taking considerable damage, Zoro then proceeded to go after Prometheus and cut it into pieces while Law and Kid successfully trapped Zeus, which allowed the latter two to then send Big Mom flying off Onigashima without either of her homies to save her from falling into the ocean. However, Kaido moved to attack Zoro after knocking Luffy unconscious, and Law was forced to teleport the swordsman away to save his life, even though this allowed Prometheus to go and save Big Mom. As Kid and Killer went after Big Mom, Zoro decided to put his remaining strength into a last-ditch attack against Kaido. Activating Kiki Kyotoryu, Ashura for the first time in ages, Zoro unleashed a powerful strike on Kaido that successfully inflicted a large cut on the Emperor's chest. Kaido noted in shock that Zoro had used Haoshoku Haki in the attack as well, which confused Zoro as he was unaware he possessed it. Zoro was disappointed that he hadn't knocked down the Emperor, but Kaido still commended him, saying the cut would leave a scar. Kaido then defeated Zoro and Law with Raimei Hake, but as they collapsed to the ground, Luffy got back up and began equally clashing with Kaido with his Haki. He told Law and Zoro that they could retreat and leave Kaido to him. Law teleported himself and Zoro inside the fortress, and the duo ended up in midair, but were fortunately caught by Sanji. With Zoro having sustained numerous broken bones, Law told Sanji to put him in a splint, and Sanji reluctantly did so before carrying a bandaged Zoro with him back out onto the battlefield. Zoro fell asleep, but when Sanji ran into Kawamatsu and Izo, he briefly woke and told the trio to go to the live floor. There, Sanji unceremoniously threw him to Chopper to have the swordsman attended to. Did you enjoy our video? Be sure to check out these other great videos from the Amagi, and make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. I'm Adrian, thanks for watching, I'm out.